From the snowy mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show, including Kingdom of Nye Radio and Revolution Radio. If you want to take a listen to our archives, we have them free for you at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot. Do a little shopping at the SOR Vault. Pick up a great book at We Read the Night. Join the Space Travelers at $5 a month, and Captain Shirk has your Newswire updated daily. Tonight's show is brought to you by CHIVE Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by donating to CHIVE Charities today. You can find them on our website. What's it like having a famous father in the field of ufology? One who was tied to science as much as he was tied to helping the U.S. government investigate strange craft in the American sky. Paul Hynek has worked in tech and entertainment and is currently a business consultant. He is also a former adjunct professor at Pepperdine University and is presently a consultant for History's new series, Project Blue Book, based on a real project to investigate UFOs between 1952 and 1969. Paul is the son of Dr. J. Allen Hynek, an astronomer who worked with the U.S. Air Force investigating UFO cases from 1948 to the end of Blue Book in 69. Paul's father began his investigation with the Air Force as a skeptic, but by the time Blue Book ended, he was all but convinced UFOs are real. Then at the bottom of hour number 3, I will bring you the SOR Newswire, brought to you by Paranoia Magazine. Mr. Paul Hynek, what an honor and a privilege to have you on Spaced Out Radio to cap off our week. How are you?
I'm excellent, Dave. Happy to be here.
I got to ask right off the bat, what was it like growing up with this UFO conversation all around you?
Well, however you grow up is normal to you, I guess. It's kind of like the frog in the hot water that doesn't notice it. But when I look back, I realized there were some aspects that were pretty interesting. Some of my first memories are of UFO ornaments on the Christmas tree and some really interesting discussions with people from around the world.
So when you were growing up, you always believed in UFOs. You always believed there were aliens out there.
Well, I would phrase it a little bit differently. My father was a scientist, and, scientists, they don't traffic in proof. That's for the mathematicians. Scientists work with evidence, and with evidence, it's not so much about believing the evidence as accepting the weight of the evidence. And my father used to say quite a lot that he didn't really believe in UFOs, but he accepted the accumulated weight of the evidence that there was a true phenomena. So I don't know if I'd use the word believe, but I certainly accept what I think is a fact, that there is a legitimate phenomena happening, and as to where they come from or who they are or why they're doing it, really don't have any idea.
So are you a believer in UFOs then?
I kind of said so in so many words, but I kind of try to hedge it with a, sort of the science pizzazz. Yeah, there is something happening. There's just too much evidence, and the increasing cadence of just what the United States Navy has been doing the last couple of years, saying, hey, we see UFOs pretty much every day. We don't know what to do about it, and we could use a hand. I mean, this is, a branch of the armed services of the United States saying we just don't have any idea what's going on out there. And I find that as compelling as any particular case when you have this behavior of people who really have nothing to gain by saying that they're confounded by this enigmatic phenomena, come forward in a way that's very public and makes a big splash in the New York Times and YouTube and on television.
I got to ask you, and we're going to get into UFOs a lot tonight, but for you personally, Paul, you were one of the very few sons to kind of take over where Dad left off. You have this amazing research that your father did as an astronomer for the United States Air Force. You have kind of carried the torch since then. But I look at names like Stanton Friedman. He didn't have anybody to pass his information on to. Jim Mars was the same way. His children had no interest in carrying on the legacy. I've talked to Grant Cameron about this as well, and he has stated that his children have no interest whatsoever in continuing his research well after he is gone. Why have you been one of the very few that has continued to go down this path of trying to bring evidence into ufology?
Well, it's one of the most important questions that mankind faces. And I have to say that, from my dad's point of view and my mom, they have an embarrassment of offspring riches. I'm one of 5 children who are all interested in the phenomena. And my brother Joel, who's listening in right now from Beijing, China, where he's working on a movie, is also working with me on Project Blue Book. So it's not limited to just me. So I think my dad was captivating enough to get all of us children involved.
Well, that's cool. And it's great that your family has accepted this, but yet so many others have not. I mean, you guys then would be an anomaly rather than the norm when it comes to investigating UFOs in a second, even a third generation.
It's kind of a family business, right?
So how do you feel about that, knowing that?
I never really thought about other UFO families. It's like I said, your situation, until it becomes so strange, is normal. And growing up with this, my father was a scientist whose part-time job defined him in the eyes of many who have heard about him. But the legacy that he gave us was just to have a scientific point of view. And there was a saying that I saw. I was a grand marshal for the March for Science in LA a couple years ago, and there were 50,000 people. And I'm at one point standing on one of the 2 lead vehicles, and so I have a bird's eye view, and I looked at all the signs, and one of the signs that I think my father would have loved said, "I'd rather have questions I can't answer than answers I can't question." I think that defines the 2 types of people in the world. And scientists very much would rather have questions they can't answer. How did the universe get created? I don't know. For me, where are aliens from? I don't know. And so my father felt that it's important to keep an open mind when you come across what might be, even annoyingly so at the onset, a new phenomena, but likewise to not fumble around in the dark for the best available answer that you could find and shove it into that slot, but to keep your mind open that, yes, hey, there's something going on here, and no, I can't really explain it. That's really the purview of science. And where my father was attracted to with the UFO phenomena was going to sort of the edges of established science and taking a flashlight there and just pushing science a little bit farther.
So with that, for you, have you ever seen a UFO?
No, I don't think so. And people ask my father that a lot also. He saw a couple things that he couldn't explain, but for him, he was a single witness. And it didn't really amount to much more than a hill of beans when you have a single witness with no corroboration of any kind. And again, for my father, it was the weight of all the cases that remained puzzling after expert analysis. Project Blue Book, which, as you know well, Dave, was, especially for most of its time, mostly of a PR exercise, charged, as they show in the TV show Project Blue Book, with just explaining everything away. They weren't really searching for the truth. They were searching to tamp down public hysteria. And even with that and their dismissive attitude, their own report showed that they couldn't explain over 5% of the cases. So it's the accumulated evidence that's come up from people that have nothing to gain, with radar corroboration, Navy pilots who are trained by the Navy, and Air Force pilots who see these things, that make you say there's really something going on. But where they come from, that's a whole other level that my father thought was really beyond the realm of a scientist, and more just in personal speculation.
So what do you think personally is going on?
Oh, well, I like my siblings. I hew towards my father's attitude that the sort of knee-jerk media explanation of extraterrestrial, although pretty darn sexy, is likely not the case, or certainly maybe not the case for all sightings, because you have these entities, if they've come from other planets, they've traveled vast distances to get here. You kind of have to tweak Einstein in the nose on the way. We have very, very sensitive instrumentation to detect objects entering and leaving our atmosphere, and yet we don't have the same number of associated reports from those instruments as we do with the UFO sightings, who have this kind of Cheshire cat appearance. They'll appear here, disappear, and appear over there. Plus, they exhibit a lot of comfort with our Earth gravity and atmosphere. Then, from my point of view, I layer in a sort of singularity point of view. And I'm sure you know, in this context, the singularity means the point at which artificial intelligence becomes self-aware and recursively self-improving. And I'm of the Ray Kurzweil school of thought that it will largely be a benevolent development for us happening around 2036. But I believe that if there's another civilization, and I believe there are millions of other civilizations in the universe, for them to be able to come here, I think they would necessarily have had their own singularity where artificial intelligence wakes up. And if that has happened, they can do almost anything that we can imagine, but there's no reason for them to come here. That's where I get hung up. I don't know why somebody would travel far, thousands of light years to get here. They're not interested, I don't believe, in our gold. They're not interested in our water. I don't think they're worried about our nuclear capabilities, and they're not interested in our non-Borg-like individualistic human love. You and I could get on a plane tonight and fly to Tegucigalpa and take a bus 6 hours out of town and find an anthill, but we don't. And there are billions and billions more planets than there are anthills. So I don't know why they would come here. So all that leads me to find that the extraterrestrial hypothesis by itself is found wanting, and that in its place, my father and our dear family friend, UFO expert Jacques Vallée, we lean towards more of an interdimensional explanation, which would explain how they appear here and disappear. It would also explain why they're here, because they're basically here, maybe the word here is with an asterisk, and why they would care, because they're our neighbors. So I like that type of explanation more than the nuts and bolts hypothesis that they're coming from Zeta Reticuli or whichever planet you like.
So you're not buying the whole Hollywood Tom DeLonge theory that it's going to be like the movie Independence Day?
Yeah, Independence Day, you've got, you bring down the UFO with a virus loaded from a thumb drive, and I think they're going to have better virus protection software than that. So I don't buy that in a nutshell. I think it's, my father, he wrote a book called The UFO Experience, and he didn't call it the UFO Witnesses. It's the UFO Experience, because the phenomena has a totality beyond just seeing something in the sky. And I don't have to tell you this, Dave, based on your history, but there is a whole other dimension going on of communications and things beyond, a twinkle in the sky or a contrail or something like that. So this sort of psychic aspect of it is also something that leads me to believe that it's more than just a ship coming here for whatever reason. And, if they're going to take us over, it's not going to be a very long battle, that's for sure.
Definitely not. The way we always say it, and to me it just seems logical, and I'm curious your opinion. If they have the technology to fly hundreds of thousands of light years to get here, no matter where they are from, even thousands, all right, I think they would have the technology to get rid of us. The other theory that I think, too, and I'm curious your opinion, is the fact that I really don't think these aliens, if we allege that they have been coming here for centuries, if not millennia, I don't think they would wait until we had some sort of nuclear arsenal, which may or may not break down their craft, but I don't think they would wait until we were that close in technology. They would have probably got us when the ideal weapon was a musket. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, I don't think wherever they're coming from, another planet or another dimension, I don't think they're much concerned about anything that we do. First of all, we're just one teeny planet in a very big universe. Plus, if they have the ability to come here from another dimension or another planet, they are so far beyond us that it's almost like looking at a goldfish who has developed some capability of using a tool underwater. It's just not that much of a threat. It's kind of like, with AI, what people in tech circles fear is that some entity, say Russia or China, will get a qualitative advantage over us in AI. And at that point, the next day, all of our battleships, all of our F-15 fighter planes not only become useless for us, but they will get flipped against us. And, AI represents that sort of that fatal flaw in world power distribution, such that when somebody gets a real big jump ahead of everybody else, they basically run the show. Multiply that by 1 million, and that's the type of delta in capabilities that another civilization, be it extra-dimensional or extraterrestrial, would have.
Paul Hynek is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. We got about 6.5 minutes before we got to go to break at the bottom of the hour. Paul, in regards to the technology, we see a big debate on social media about, and this has really come out since the 3 Navy videos came out. And I like to call them the Navy videos because I don't believe they belong to a certain group. But nonetheless, we have these videos, and everybody has been talking about the technology around these videos. Yet for many experiencers, that includes myself, they don't really care about the technology. They just want to know what is going on for their own personal curiosity because of the experiences they've had. Is there, in your opinion, a big difference between the experience and the technology that everybody is striving to find?
That's an interesting question. I think, the word experiencer is very good because it is, as we talked about, the totality of the experience. And I think for somebody that has had this experience, and, even the movie Close Encounters shows this sort of emotional toll that this takes on somebody, the technology is really secondary. It's like if you go see a presentation and you don't come home and say, wow, that person, their PowerPoint, the graphics in the PowerPoint were perfect. That Comic Sans font was just the right choice. The way they walked across the stage had the perfect cadence. Their voice was great. Boy, were they groomed well. They were just the perfect speaker. You don't talk about that. What you say is, wow, I saw a really cool speaker today, and she blew my mind. It was just, she was passionate and articulate, and I loved it. And I think that's sort of what happens with UFOs. The technology is not it's the sort of impact, how this experience imprints upon you, and the technology is, really, literally the vehicle that brings them. Maybe there's a beam and it pulls them up in the air, but it's really not about the technology. It's about this coming so close with these beings that are clearly not of our prosaic world, and the impact that has upon you and whatever communications you may have felt that they imparted upon you.
So do you think that we can use both at the same time? We can try and combine the experiencers' feelings about everything and the personal trauma, whether it's positive or negative, that they have gone through, and combine that with the science of what is going on? Is that even possible?
Yeah, that's interesting. I think you can have different groups of people working on it. I mean, scientists aren't that comfortable with touchy-feely things that they can't put in a petri dish or replicate in a study. So, my father, had this classification system of close encounters of first kind, second kind, third kind, and Stephen Greer and others have expanded it beyond that to encompass more of these sort of experiencer aspects. I think for me, yes, you can combine them in the sense that you record what happens, you try to get corroborating evidence from other witnesses and instrumentation such as radar, etc. But what really helps you understand the context of these events is the insight that you get from experiencers and what they felt was coming through, that is not just having looked at the craft and seen how many lights there were and how fast it went. But this is up there with, is there life after death? And my father came close, or he pushed the science that much farther, but there's still a long way to go. It's like we're in the Grand Canyon at night with a really, really dim flashlight. We're just starting to make this stuff out.
Mm-hmm. What do you think has to be done differently in regards to gain that respect, to gain that knowledge, whether it's from the experiencer, whether it's from the scientific community? Is there a happy balance in the end for everyone to get along and make this the topic of importance that it needs to be?
I don't think everyone's going to get along because people are very passionate about this. But I've seen what I think is a shift in terms of public acceptance of the phenomena. When I was a kid, it was a bit more lurid, and there was a bit more stigma attached to it. And nowadays, when people ask me about my father, or they see something and ask me about it, they have a very different attitude. They're very much more curious about it and much more open, I think. So I think there has been a shift, and works of fiction like Close Encounters and now Project Blue Book do a great service to make the dialogue more acceptable for people. So let's say you have a group of people and 3 of them believe in UFOs and the other one doesn't. They might feel more emboldened now that they can talk to the other person about it. So I have seen a shift in the zeitgeist about how people feel comfortable about talking about it, which I think is probably the first step.
Do you think that a lot of people are more comfortable about it because, and I've posed this question to other people on this show, but it seems like the more people start to pull away from, and I mean this once again with all due respect to people who are religious, but the more people pull away from church to find their own answers on their own, those seem to be the people who have a more tendency to believe.
Yeah, I'm not going to touch that one, Dave.
I don't blame you. Well, it is a touchy subject because, you never know. You just never, ever know. Paul, I'm going to get you, actually, we got about 30 seconds before we go here. Before we go to break here at the bottom of the hour, do you believe that there will come a time in the next 5 to 15 years that we're going to actually find out if there's something out there?
Well, my good friend Steve Bassett and Richard Dolan, are pretty much the disclosure experts. And they make a pretty compelling case that the way the U.S. government in particular is acting suggests that they feel that a disclosure is inevitable and that they need to get ahead of the narrative and help shape the contours of the dialogue. I don't know. Very true. There we go. Is that 30 seconds up?
That's 30 seconds up. I'm going to keep you at that. Paul Hynek is our guest tonight. We're going to get into Project Blue Book when we come back on Spaced Out Radio.
Hey, space travelers. This is John Resig, founder of the CHIVE and CHIVE Charities. If you know anything about our website, you'd know we like to do things a little differently. We're not some faceless organization collecting money for a nebulous cause. Our donor dollars go directly toward life-improving items. Then we give those items directly to an underdog who needs it most. To become a donor with Spaced Out Radio's official charity, CHIVE Charities, just go to chivecharities.org/donate.
From the heartlands of Canada to beards around the world, we know how to take care of you. Fill your follicles with the Mighty Moose Beard Oil. All our oils and balms are handmade and 100% natural ingredients because we care about your beard. And hey, use the promo code SOR2019 and get your Mighty Moose Beard Oil today. You can check us out on our website, mightymoosebeard.com.
Hello, this is your guitar man, Ron Bumblefoot Thal, and I have to tell you, I love the response I get for Little Brother is Watching from Spaced Out Radio fans. It's amazing how music can inspire and make people think deeper about what's going on in the supernatural world. You can head over to my website, bumblefoot.com, to check out my music, my guitar workshops, my touring, even check out some of the hot sauces that I'm working on. And make sure you keep on listening, because with Spaced Out Radio, you know little brother is watching.
Finish off your weekend and kick off your new week with me, Everett Thiemer, right here on Spaced Out Sundays. I'm going to bring you great guests, a little bit of snark, and plenty of information to think about. But don't worry, there's going to be plenty of woo as well. We are going to hit everything in the paranormal and supernatural, including the Odd Psychic Sundays. So tune us in on Sunday, 9:06 p.m. Pacific, 12:06 a.m. Eastern, right here at spacedoutradio.com.
Heading to Vancouver and looking for a night on the town? The Moose Vancouver is the bar that never stops rocking until 2 a.m. every night. The Moose has great food with everything on the menu from $6.95 to $8.95. Fantastic, vibrant staff and rock and roll that will bring you back to when the music was real, the hair was long, and the guitars were rocking. Get your party on at the Moose Vancouver, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
Every night on Spaced Out Radio, we have places for you to hang out. Hi, this is Carl. Join our SOR Space Travelers group on Facebook for live chat. On Twitter, using hashtag Spaced Out Radio. You can also join us in our Spreaker chat room. Check us out on Instagram at Dave Scott SOR. All of our archives are free on YouTube at Spaced Out Radio. By the way, I'll be watching you at your window until you do. Bye!
We're adding to the entertainment online for Spaced Out Radio. I'm Amber Beckrud, and I want to invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel and check out Cryptid Tales, where I will take you on a journey into some of the strangest legends and lore from around the world, relaying the stories to you of the strange creatures and experiences that people have had throughout time. You can find Cryptid Tales at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. And while you're there, don't forget to check out our free archives and leave a comment. See you there.
Are you having encounters with the paranormal, supernatural, or ufological that you cannot explain? Look no further than the SOR Sightlines Report, brought to you by the Experiencers Support Association. This is Ryan Stacy, head of the Research Association, TESA. Soon on the Spaced Out Radio website, you will be able to file your reports and have them researched for you. We are independent and ready to help Spaced Out Radio listeners today.
Move over, brother, and let me own Saturday night.
This is Rich Giordano, and I'm inviting you to tune on in to Spaced Out Saturdays starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, 12 a.m. Eastern, where I'm going to bust open the lids on everything paranormal. Why? Because we want answers, and I'm the guy who's going to deliver those answers to you. Join the chat rooms, and we'll see you this Saturday. Just be there. No, really.
Hey everybody, the SOR Space Travelers is open. For just $5 a month, you can hang out with Dave and our crew privately in our members-only section. With your signing, you'll receive newsletters on what's going on with Spaced Out Radio. You'll have direct contact with the host during the show in our chat, live streaming videos, and a great forum for your posts and more. Become a space traveler now at spacedoutradio.com.
You wanted new SOR gear, and now you can have it. The SOR Vault is fully stocked with t-shirts, hats, hoodies, mugs, and everything in between, with great logos for you to choose from. So head on over to spacedoutradio.com, click on the SOR Vault, and go shopping. Pricing is quite affordable, and you can look good representing your favorite show. So go to our website and pick up your new SOR wear at the SOR Vault today.
Looking for something new to push your limits? Look Beyond the Spectrum, a new docuseries featuring some of the best researchers in the world when it comes to everything from UFOs, government cover-ups, and Bigfoot in the forest. Truth seekers like Steve Bassett, Dr. Jeff Meldrum, Richard Dolan, as well as others all chip in to bring their knowledge to you. Beyond the Spectrum can be found on Amazon as well as Tubi TV. Tell us what you think on our Amazon page.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now. The Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
Welcome back to the second half hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. Thank you so much for tuning us in. Reminder, if you missed portions of this show or others, you can always check out our free archives at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, do a little shopping at the SOR Vault. Grab a great book at We Read the Night. Join the Space Travelers for $5 a month. And Captain Shirk has you updated on the SOR Newswire. Just want to give a shout out to Joel Hynek, listening way in the east of Asia. Thank you so much for listening to us tonight, Joel. Appreciate you taking the time. Paul Hynek is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. We're talking Project Blue Book. Paul, welcome back to the show.
Hello, Dave.
Now, I want our audience to learn who your father was, because he, to this day, even though he's been gone for a couple of decades now, his research is still extremely prominent in the world of ufology today. Who is J. Allen Hynek?
J. Allen Hynek was a little Czech boy who grew up in Chicago who didn't speak English until he went to kindergarten. And he got scarlet fever as a very young kid, and was given a book on astronomy and found the love of his life at the age of 6 or 7. And I have that book with his autograph from 1916 in my house here. So he knew he'd always wanted to be an astronomer, and being from Chicago, he went to the University of Chicago all through from undergrad to his PhD and became an astronomer. And before UFOs, he played an instrumental role in the proximity fuse, which was one of the most important developments of World War II, which helped stop the German V-1 bombs over London. Then he helped set up NASA's optical satellite tracking program, putting 12 observatories around the world to optically track satellites. And in those days, he organized the first citizen science project or endeavor, let's say, to man these observatories with citizen teams. And they were some of the first to spot Sputnik in 1957. So he was on the cover of Life magazine and giving press briefings and briefing Congress on the status of the space race. So and all along, he was teaching at Harvard and Ohio State and then at Northwestern. And then one day when he was at Ohio State, the Air Force came calling. And you can find websites that hint at a grand conspiracy theory that he had CIA clearance from the war and that he was in on it already. I personally take the Occam's razor approach, that it was a little bit more simpler. The Project Blue Book folks didn't really care about who they got. They just wanted a warm body who had a PhD in astronomy. And I think they found the closest astronomer to them, and they brought my father in, who was a confirmed skeptic about UFOs or flying saucers as they were known at the time. He thought it was all a bunch of post-war bunkum, and if the Air Force wanted to pay him to explain away UFOs, well, that was just fine with him. Little did he know that it would become a 20-year active project for him with the Air Force, and that he would go around the world and become the foremost authority on this enigma.
I think that's absolutely hilarious that it was all about the money at first.
Yeah, I don't know if it's all about the money, but, it was also, in those days, you had more of a sense of patriotism. If the Air Force is asking you to do something, and he'd had, good experience with the military during the war. I mean, he and my mom went to Washington, D.C. during their honeymoon to ask how they could help. It was a different era. And so when they came and said, hey, would you help us explain these away? Just like an engineer, you get an engineer to do something, as I know with my brothers, Joel included, by saying, oh, you probably couldn't do this. So if you tell an astrophysicist, we can't explain these things, it's just too intriguing to turn down.
Well, of course not. And as he started at first being a skeptic and, was looking into these cases of Project Blue Book, which, by the way, I have a couple of documents on in my office that were given to me a couple of years ago, which is kind of cool, with photographs.
Oh, really?
Yeah. A gentleman named Rob out of Ohio actually went to a garage sale on Craigslist, opened up a box, and there was a bunch of declassified Project Blue Book files in there.
I've heard of that.
Yeah, I can get you that information if you wanted to chat with him. That's very simple.
Yeah, hook me up with your guy, Dave.
I can definitely do that. I'm that guy. I'm your hookup now. It all works. But the idea behind all of this was the fact that your dad was a skeptic. He didn't believe in this. And what really, if you go back, maybe you were born then, maybe you weren't, but what really changed his mind? What really happened there?
I don't know if there was a straw that broke the camel's back. It may have been the Lonnie Zamora case in 1964 in Socorro, New Mexico. But really, like I mentioned before, it's seeing so much evidence, so many cases that don't all fit one pattern, that are all over the world, that have all different sizes and shapes and different types of associated phenomena with them, reported by people, and he placed a high premium on the credibility of witnesses. So when you had witnesses who had, and also the motivations, they have nothing to gain, they're in possession of their faculties, they're intelligent, they're calm, they're lucid, and they're also, very importantly, consistent in their retelling of the events over time, that would trip the wire for my father as a credible witness. And then if you add to that a film, radar, some kind of physical trace elements, like in A Close Encounter of the Second Kind, some burned ground or something like that, you add up enough of those cases that have then been explained or investigated by qualified personnel. Now you have to have a pretty big rug to sweep them all under it. Your sort of debunking attitude collapses under its own weight before long. And so, for my father, it was just scientists are dubious about new things, especially kind of sensational topics like this at the beginning. But if you're in the field and you see these things day in, day out, and you're able to separate the wheat from the chaff, eventually it's going to take its toll on your skepticism, and that's exactly what happened with my father.
I'm actually holding into my hand while you were speaking. I had the file of the documents that were sent to me that were declassified. And I'm wondering how many times your dad held sheets like this that are in my hand, which is called a UFO analysis sheet. I don't know if you've seen one of these or not, but these are actually kind of cool.
I've seen every manner of UFO document that you can possibly imagine, Mr. Scott.
That is fantastic. This is just fantastic as we look through this. So, excuse me. So when you started, learning about what your dad had been doing and the way he had conducted himself, going from skeptic to believer, was there a turning point that he ever mentioned to you in his life that he said, we are dealing with an element that is far from the stars, nothing is man-made, and we don't have the ability to bring it out. We don't have the ability to bring this forward. We got to keep this quiet because we don't know what's happening.
Well, my older siblings could talk about those early days, Joel and Roxanne and Scott. The younger ones, Ross and myself, we were really along more towards the tail end of Project Blue Book and with the movie Close Encounters and the founding of the Center for UFO Studies. So by the time that we were really able to have more sort of grown-up talks about the subject, he was already well on his way, or already pretty much defined his new attitudes towards the subject. So early on, it was pretty quick for him to realize that the Project Blue Book organ of the Air Force wasn't, as I mentioned, interested in a comprehensive scientific investigation to reverse engineer the propulsion system of possible UFOs, et cetera, which is something that my brother Joel and I are doing now. But really, it was to make the public feel safe and explain things away. But later on, by the 70s, my father had seen so many things, met with so many people, looked at so many tapes, and seen so many, like you say, UFO analysis sheets, that he had a firmly open mind to the phenomena and a still open mind to the solution.
Was it about the science for him, or was it about helping the military?
Well, that's a good question. I think it was probably both. I mean, he was brought in to help the military, and I think he felt a patriotic duty. You've got the Red Scare, and there's a lot of this is the height of the Cold War, and the military asks you for help on something they can't explain. So he must have thought, well, there's got to be something going on if they're going to spend this time and money on it. But really, what drove him, like you're getting at, was he was a kid who was a scientist, who had a sort of a scientist leanings, and this was a really meaty thing that at first he thought he could explain away, and then I imagine it must have been fascinating to him when he started to realize, hey, even with my knowledge of astronomy and the resources of the Air Force and other associated U.S. government entities, I can't just explain these all away. And then I think that must have just sort of turbo-fueled his scientific interest to think that there might actually be something there.
Did he ever see any craft? Was he ever taken to hidden areas like Wright-Patterson or Area 51 back in the day to see things that may have come from Roswell or Kecksburg?
No, he wasn't, Dave. No, never. I think we're coming up to break now. No, I don't know. He was shown a lot of things, but to my knowledge, and I think my siblings would agree, we don't know of any smoking gun that he saw of any kind. I was with him when he died, for example, and the days leading up to that. And if he'd had some kind of come to interstellar Jesus moment, I think he would have shared it.
That was very dramatic, by the way. That was excellent.
That's late at night. We got to keep the juices flowing.
Well, that pure Hollywood right there. Pure Hollywood. Was there a famous or a favorite case outside of Lonnie Zamora that your dad had worked on that really, really stood with him through the remainder of his life?
There are several. One of them is Pascagoula. With my good friend Calvin Parker,
yes,
who I was talking to today. That's a case that's just fascinating and stands up to scrutiny. So that's one in particular. Another one is the Father Gill case from Papua New Guinea, and which happened in 1959. And the broad strokes of the account are Father Gill's an Anglican priest in Papua New Guinea who's inside and hears this commotion. He goes outside, and there's a craft hovering maybe 500 feet in the air. Now, Father Gill wasn't your typical, I don't want to say that, but he was an exceptional UFO witness. He was unflappable. He's starting to perform ad hoc trigonometric calculations to determine the size and the distance of the craft. He's taking notes contemporaneously. There are about 500 other people seeing the object. And so they're looking at it, and it's obviously causing, like I said, a great commotion. And at one point, a door or a hatch opens on the craft, and these entities come out, and Father Gill waves at them, and they wave back. The sighting went on for a little bit more, and there was another sighting the next day. There were also sightings tracked on radar throughout the country that sort of established a vector of a travel path for the craft or crafts, and that was it. So my Father Gil came to our house when I was a child for dinner. He was in town in Chicago for an ecumenical religious conference. And he came to our house for dinner, and he was a guy that, wasn't really all that keen on talking about this. This wasn't something that he felt defined him. But if you come to the Hynek house for dinner and you've seen a UFO, if you expect to get fed, you're going to have to feed my dad some UFO information. Now, by this time, my father had already talked with him several times. He'd gone down to Papua New Guinea to personally investigate the case. And what he'd like to do was talk to a witness over time, over years, to sort of nibble around the edges and make sure things remain consistent and not embellished over time. And so I got to see my father, how he would talk to a witness. I don't want to say question or interrogate, but talk to somebody. My father was always very cognizant of the traumatic impact that these experiences had on people. So he'd be very gentle and deft in his handling of them. And I could see how my father would talk to them. And I was able to look at Father Gil, and having talked with my dad about how to talk to people seeing witnesses and just watched him, I made my own impression that this is a guy who's very smart, who's very calm, who's not looking to capitalize on the experience in any way, and is just very clearly, in almost a detached way, relating the events and then asking my mom to pass the peas, So it made a big impact on me that this case that had so many people that saw something had what I would call an unimpeachable witness like Father Gil. So that was a case that my father thought was, quite convincing.
Looking back at the secrecy of this program, Project Blue Book, as we got about 5.5 minutes before we go to break at the top of the hour, at the time, how secretive was this project?
So that's a good question. I recently had the honor of meeting Lieutenant Colonel Robert Friend with Arturo Interian, a former executive at A&E Networks, and David O'Leary, the creator of Project Blue Book. We went to his 99th birthday party. Robert Friend was the last surviving Air Force director of Project Blue Book. And along with Ed Ruppelt, was the person that my father had the most respect for in terms of being sort of a scientific-minded fellow. And Robert Friend and my father became very good friends. And Robert Friend, he was in charge of the Air Force's investigation, and he had a really interesting way to look at things. And even with a man like that, who my father felt was like the best luck of the draw he could get, when they would go out and investigate cases, let's say their first order of business was try to establish if it's legitimate. All right, let's see if we can rule things out. If we can't rule things out and it seems legitimate, even then, these two well-meaning individuals would veer in what they're looking to do. My father would have a scientific attitude and say, okay, well, look, can we replicate this? Can we describe it? Can we do this? In the interest of science. And the first thing that Robert Friend would look to do is to determine, is it a threat to national security? So things would go very differently from the beginning. Now, with Project Blue Book, as we've talked about, the job was to explain things away, not to really find the answers. If it was, I don't think it would have been based in far-flung Dayton, even at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. But the Air Force was using this as a way, largely, especially after the Robertson panel in 1953, to sort of give, ground cover for their operations. Say, hey, look, we've got this blue ribbon panel with this scientist here, and he's investigating things. And the Robertson panel has shown there's nothing to it. So they have this sort of, concocted public relations ace up the sleeve that they could say, hey, we've investigated all these cases, nothing to see here, folks, please disperse. And yet you had really sincere-minded individuals like Robert Friend who, they towed the line. And I'll give you a really tantalizing example of this. I asked Robert Friend at his birthday party, have you seen something that is really, really convincing? And he looks at me and his eyes sparkle. And he says, yes. And so I'm trying to appeal to him as his former buddy's son. And I'm thinking I could go to his house and maybe he's got something there he can show me. But I don't believe, and he recently passed away, unfortunately. I don't believe he would have showed it to me because he was a loyal Air Force guy. And he took a lifelong oath to keep this stuff secret. So even if he had something, I think he felt it was okay to tell me. But unlike a scientist whose, pursuit is the truth, his pursuit was duty and protecting the country and national security. But the way he answered that question, and he's a very smart guy who can make a determination between something that's really intriguing and something that's not, that was fascinating to me. And again, it's sort of like what I said about the Navy. I'm really interested not so much in physical evidence, but in the behavior of people around the phenomena when it doesn't really make sense or comport with nothing being there. That's super compelling to me.
At any time, did your dad say that he couldn't discuss certain topics because of the top secret nature?
Well, so Project Blue Book, something else that Robert Friend told me was because it had 2 words in the title, Blue Book, it wasn't that classified. Now, I wasn't aware of this, but apparently if something has 1 word like grudge or sign or something like that, then it's more classified. So because a lot of the impetus of Blue Book was just to explain things away, it wasn't as classified as other things. Now, at the same time, I think it was the 4902nd Air Squadron, I think they were tasked with doing any kind of reverse engineering on propulsion systems that they could find. But Blue Book wasn't that classified, and indeed, all the cases were released after Blue Book went defunct.
Interesting. Very interesting indeed. You know what? I'm going to, I think we got about 20 seconds here, so I think we're good here before we got to go to break at the top of the hour. Our guest tonight, Paul Hynek, the son of J. Allen Hynek, and he himself is an adjunct professor at Pepperdine University. He also is a consultant at History Channel's Project Blue Book television show. We're going to get into the television show. How real is it? How close to the reality of the stories is it? How much fun is it spending time in Vancouver with an umbrella? Because it's always raining in Vancouver. More Spaced Out Radio with Hour 2 right after this.
Hey, Spaced Out Radio fans! It's John Resig, founder of the CHIVE and CHIVE Charities. Our goal is to make the life of veterans, first responders, and those with rare medical conditions 10% happier. We do this by donating 1 grant item, ranging from dance to therapy programs to prosthetic limbs, to those who need it most. To contribute to Spaced Out Radio's official charity, head over to chivecharities.org and become a donor today.
Get your horns up with me on Spaced Out Radio. This is Ron Bumblefoot THAL. Come tune in to SOR where you can hear me rock out with Little Brother Is Watching, the official theme song of Spaced Out Radio. And then come on over to bumblefoot.com where you can find out about my tour schedule, my music, and everything else. Bumblefoot.com keeps you up to date on what I'm doing and the best way to stay in touch with my music and music camps. Sign up for my newsletter at bumblefoot.com and remember, Little Brother Is Watching.
We all know on Spaced Out Radio we love a good beard and mustache, so why not take care of your facial hair with Mighty Moose Beard Oil? Made in Canada, we're taking care of beards and stashes around the world. We use 100% natural ingredients with our oils and balms to make your whiskers feel silky smooth. Use promo code SOR2019 at MightyMooseBeard.com today.
Hi there, this is Geraldine Orozco from San Francisco's Bay Area Meditation. I invite you to join me the first Tuesday of every month with Dave Scott for Spaced Out Radio's The Spiritual You. In this fast-paced world we live in, it's time for you to take some time for you. We'll cover every possible subject from powerful meditation to healing techniques to your own intuition and spirituality. So come join us for The Spiritual You.
For the price of 1 cup of coffee a month, you can become an SOR Space Traveler. The Space Travelers Club is a place where you can interact with other listeners, either live during the show or on our great forum. We want your stories, pictures, comments, and ideas. You'll get live video streams, exclusive content, and be a part of our newsletter. Stay in touch with everything SOR. The Space Travelers Club is just $5 a month at spacedoutradio.com.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com.
The Call of the Wild is in Vancouver. The Moose Vancouver is one of the hottest bars and restaurants in the city. Open until 2 a.m. nightly, the Moose will rock you like a hurricane all night long. Great food with everything on the menu at $6.95 near the corner of Nelson and Granville. Get your horns up and come rock with us. The Moose Vancouver, the official rocking bar of Spaced Out Radio.
The SOR Vault is open for business, and do we have some cool swag for you to pick up? All you have to do is head over to our website and click on the SOR Vault. You have a variety of cool logos to choose from, and put them on anything you want. T-shirts, hoodies, hats, coffee mugs, you name it, we can get it to you. So do your shopping by supporting the store you love. Get your Spaced Out Radio swag at the SOR Vault today.
Move over, brother, and let me own Saturday night.
This is Rich Giordano, and I'm inviting you to tune on in to Spaced Out Saturdays starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, 12 a.m. Eastern, where I'm going to bust open the lids on everything paranormal. Why? Because we want answers, and I'm the guy who's going to deliver those answers to you. Join the chat rooms, and we'll see you this Saturday. Just be there. No, really.
Come hang out with Spaced Out Radio, where we own the night. This is Carl. You can follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, and during the show, use the hashtag Spaced Out Radio to chat with us live. On Instagram, at Dave Scott SOR. On Facebook, give our page a like, Spaced Out Radio Show. SOR archives are free on YouTube at Spaced Out Radio. Come join us, or I will come join you. See you at your window.
Hey, this is Canadian Paranormal Investigator Mike Moore. The third Wednesday of every month, I'll be teaming up with Dave Scott to bring you Ghosts of the Great White North. Each month, we will bring on guests from across Canada to discuss their ghostly encounters. Canada is a paranormal hotbed with stories you've never heard, so we're going to bring them to you. So get comfy on your Chesterfield, grab a donut, and join us, eh?
A little bit of science, a little bit of skepticism. Add a dash of snark and you have the makings of Spaced Out Sundays with me, Everett Thiemer. Together we will look into the reality of the paranormal with an open eye and rational thought. Oh, did I mention there'll be plenty of woo as well? Your time spent with Spaced Out Sundays will make the night even better. The chat rooms are open, 9:06 p.m. Pacific, 12:06 a.m. Eastern, right here at spacedoutradio.com.
Are you having encounters with the paranormal, supernatural, or ufological that you cannot explain? Look no further than the SOR Sightlines Report, brought to you by the Experiencers Support Association. This is Ryan Stacy, head of the Research Association, TESA. Soon on the Spaced Out Radio website, you'll be able to file your reports and have them researched for you. We are independent and ready to help Spaced Out Radio listeners today.
Hi, this is Amber Beckrud, and I want to invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel where we store all of the SOR show archives for free. And as an added bonus, every 2 weeks I'm posting brand new content on Cryptid Tales, where I will get into some of the spookier legends and folklore from around the world and tell the stories that go with them. Find us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio and check out Cryptid Tales today. Drop a comment and let me know what you want to hear. See you there.
At spacedoutradio.com, we have a little bit of everything for you to stay up late. So while you're there, check out our SOR Newswire, where our team brings you stories of the weird and strange to the WTF from around the globe. News on Bigfoot, UFOs, paranormal, Darwinian-type crime tales. It's the stories that the mainstream media usually won't touch. Well, we got them all on the SOR Newswire, only at spacedoutradio.com.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott. Follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Facebook, Spaced Out Radio Show.
Welcome back to hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio. Tonight, I am your host, Dave Scott. I appreciate you coming on in, especially if you're listening in on our terrestrial stations, UPRN, 107.7 FM in New Orleans. In Ridgecrest, California, KZFX, 93.7 FM. In Dangerfield, Texas, KDNF, AM 1560. WQEE, 99.1 FM in Noonan, Georgia. Down in Reedsport, Oregon, KDUN, AM 1030. On the digital side, hi to everyone listening in on Kingdom of Nye Radio and Revolution Radio. Remember, all of our archives are free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Yakadan. Yakadan is your password. Use it wisely, space travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, do a little shopping at the SOR Vault, grab a great book at We Read the Night, join the Space Travelers Club for $5 a month, and Captain Shirk has you updated on the news and the SOR Newswire daily. Tonight we are talking with Paul Hynek. He is the son of J. Allen Hynek, who, of course, one of the granddaddies of ufology in the United States, and we're talking Project Blue Book tonight. Paul, welcome back to Spaced Out Radio.
So does that make me a grandkid of ufology?
I guess so. Or maybe a grand? You've done pretty well for Well, you've done pretty well for yourself, so, I mean, why not?
Great, thank you.
Oh, no, not a problem. Not a problem. As we get into Project Blue Book, why do you think this Project Blue Book, never mind the television series just yet, we are going to get into that momentarily, but why do you think Project Blue Book as a whole is still vastly important in today's ufology?
You know, it was a public-facing government inquiry into something that they couldn't answer. And I don't know, ATIP, we didn't hear about it until it was perhaps defunct. But I can't think of another case, especially with the U.S. government, where there was a public-facing entity tasked with solving a riddle of this magnitude. It's like, Men in Black, but for real. So I think that hit a nerve. Here's the government trying to explain spacemen or flying saucers or UFOs. Pick the parlance of your choice. And it's just a fascinating project, no matter what their motives were or how dedicated they were to true scientific endeavors.
Really? So because of that, do you think that this project and what was found 50, 60, 70 years ago is almost identical to what people are reporting today? Do you see a difference as you've looked at both sides?
There is a commonality in UFO cases over time, and that's something that my brother Joel reminded me that one of the things that my father found compelling was this sort of similarity over time across the years and across the continents and what people said and what they claimed to have experienced. So, if anything, the cadence of UFO reports has increased. MUFON tracks all the cases that are coming in, and you can see like this moving clock of cases coming in all day from around the world. So this is a problem that, unfortunately for the skeptics, has not shriveled up and died.
In fact, over the last 2 years, you could even say it's absolutely rubbed the UFO cases into the faces of these skeptical people who do not believe in this phenomena, because what has come out and what has been proven as fact, which was hidden all of these years. What was your reaction when the Pentagon finally admitted that they were looking for UFOs and have been?
Well, it was interesting. I wasn't surprised that they're doing it. How could they not be doing it? But the fact that they came out and admitted it so publicly, you have to wonder, why would they do that? If there aren't great big secrets that they have, why would they feel compelled to disclose, the lowercase d, their interest and ongoing examination of this? I mean, I find that really, really compelling. Then you have cases like the Nimitz, the Tic Tac, the Nimitz 2004, where you have gun turret video from different planes showing an object exhibiting maneuvers that our terrestrial craft cannot do, seen by multiple witnesses, including my friend Kevin Day, who's the radar operator on board, and confirmed, released by the Navy and confirmed. And that is a very hard case for somebody who's, a dyed-in-the-wool scientist and engineer to dismiss, when you've got that kind of physical evidence on the part of highly trained personnel that's all corroborated across time and with different planes and ships. And that's just, to me, that's a case that stands out for the unimpeachable quality of the witnesses and the multiple redundant corroborating nature of the physical evidence.
When you had a chance to talk to your dad about UFOs, not just Project Blue Book, but the system in general, how high did this go up? Was it just part of the military with Joint Chiefs of Staff? Did he ever meet any presidents to discuss this topic? I mean, there's so much topics about whether it was Eisenhower or Johnson or Nixon. They all seem to have their little piqued interests in this subject.
I don't know. Project Blue Book in the first season, the climactic episode 10 of the first season, really goes into what was a real phenomena of the flap, as they called it, over Washington, D.C., where President Truman, in reality, scrambled fighter jets because of the things that they were seeing in the sky. And you can imagine that a president from Missouri, the show-me state, is going to be a little bit reluctant to scramble fighter jets after something like that for fear of ridicule. So, in terms of, and in the show, my father is talking with Truman. I don't know if that happened. I don't know. I imagine he had some fairly high-level contacts because he was a walking repository of this information. So I imagine he had a variety of high-level contacts, and, apart from the military, he talked with people of all walks of life. And, we spent, when I was a kid, my brother Ross and I, my mom and dad, spent 2 weeks, our family with Neil Armstrong and his family, on a cruise ship in 1973. And I later found out from James Hansen, who wrote First Man, the book upon which the movie was based, that it was Neil Armstrong's request to sit with our family. And he could have sat with anybody. He was the most famous person in the world. And so to me, that suggests that either he had an interest in my father's astronomical career, or more likely that he had some particular interest in UFOs.
I still wonder whether or not he saw something up there.
You know, Neil was the perfect guy for the job, but unlike Buzz Aldrin, he was not, he was an introvert. He's not really comfortable in the spotlight, and he doesn't like talking about things so much like that. But I saw him talking with my father quite a lot on that ship. And so, I don't know exactly what they talked about, but I do know that it was Neil Armstrong's wish to be seated next to my father for 2 weeks.
Before we get into Project Blue Book, let's get into Close Encounters of the Third Kind, because your dad created the Close Encounter scale. And I was wondering if you could go over that as we get into the whole movie where he actually had a cameo appearance in it.
Sure. So my father was basically the UFO accountant, because he came up with a classification system, basically buckets in which to put things, which is what accounting does. So, what he realized, he had an epiphany of sorts during his work with UFOs, that he wasn't studying UFOs themselves. Rather, he was studying reports of UFOs. So he didn't have a UFO in a petri dish. He had the reports, the eyewitness accounts. And once he realized that led him to creating a classification system for reports, such that scientists from around the world could compare apples to maybe misshapen apples, because they're never going to be exactly the same. And so the classification system had nocturnal lights, daylight discs, and close encounters of the first, second, and third kind. The first kind is a close sighting. The second kind involves some type of physical evidence. And the third kind is when there was some type of entity involved. So Steven Spielberg had a growing interest in UFOs, read my father's book, The UFO Experience, and brought my father in to be the technical advisor for the movie, bought the rights to the title from my father. And a lot of the things that happen in the movie, such as that really fun scene where the UFOs go flying through the toll booth, that was based on a real case that happened on the border of Ohio and Pennsylvania. So my father informed Stephen a lot about things to put in the movie that had been reported, and like you said, he had a brief cameo role. So the movie is based on, let's say, real-life reports. Don't know if they're actually real-life events, but they're real-life reports. And that's one of the reasons I think that it holds up fairly well, in addition to the awesome visual effects that they did at the time with Douglas Trumbull, who my brother Joel later worked with, and our friend Hoyt Yateman, who helped create the clouds.
How do you think they made Close Encounters so realistic? Because to this day, I think the majority of us out there would say, 40 years later, it is still the best UFO encounter movie out there. Nothing has come close to it, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think because they had the verisimilitude of actual reports, which could sort of tap into that public unconsciousness and make people feel like, hey, that kind of rings true. It had the psychic element also, with the carving of the mashed potatoes of Devil's Tower and the trash mound in the house and all that. But the visual effects, and my brother has an Oscar for this, and I've worked in visual effects, were done in such a way that they didn't use the newest things at the time, but they used tried and true techniques that hold up really well. If you watch some other movies from the 70s, you can see the compositing is really bad, so you see the character in front of something, he's not in front of that. But also, it was just a very well-made movie overall. One of the challenges I think that Spielberg had was getting Columbia Studios to agree to the name Close Encounters of the Third Kind. Hey, Columbia, I want to do a movie about UFOs. I'm fresh off my success with Jaws, and I want to name it after a classification system that won't fit on a movie marquee. That was really, I think, the largest challenge that Spielberg had at that time.
Yet he nailed it. He nailed it perfectly.
Yeah. Yeah.
I do have to ask, because we do have a major debate almost every day on this show. Devil's Tower.
Ooh.
Are you on Team Rock or Team Stump?
Team Rock or Team Stump?
Yes. Very important here, Paul.
I'm going to say Team Rock.
Paul.
I mean, by Team Rock, I mean I acknowledge the viewpoints of people on Team Rock, but I'm clearly on Team Stump.
Good choice. Good choice. We just for the record, you can go to the Spaced Out Radio Vault, the SOR Vault on our website, and get yourself a Team Stump T-shirt right now. You can do that.
Yeah, okay. I'm a loyal Team Stumper all the way, baby. Half the way, 10%.
All right, take that, Team Rockers, because now we're going to get absolutely lit up on social media about this. I am a Team Stump kind of guy. But no, in all seriousness, with everything that happened in that movie, with Richard Dreyfuss, being called, many experiencers to this day look at that movie as some sort of Bible. When your dad was approached to be and have a little bit of a cameo in that movie, what did that mean to him, that this was going right into the public eye? His research was right there on the big screen.
Yeah, so the cameo wasn't, I think that was sort of added at the end. I don't think he really thought much about that. But it was that here comes Hollywood, and they're going to do a big budget movie about UFOs. This has the potential to either accelerate or retard the conversation in a dramatic way, more so than nonfiction, than books about UFOs written by people who like UFOs for people who like UFOs can sometimes be a little bit more of an echo chamber and can sort of inform more nuance. But to really move the needle on the public discussion, it takes a work of fiction. So my father was very cognizant of that. And, I think in his life, in his professional life with UFOs, he felt that there were three main groups that he had to be aware of and probably displease each equally. One was the government and associated apparatus of the military-industrial complex. Another one was mainstream science. And the other one would be believers. If he leaned too much in any direction of those three, that would be out of kilter. So you can imagine a Venn diagram where those three circles overlap. And those are the treacherous waters that I think he felt he had to navigate. Now, you toss Hollywood into the mix. So here's a man who's a scientist who, above all, felt that he had to maintain his scientific credibility and legitimacy in this really, really screwy, bizarre realm. So that's a tough job. Now you got Hollywood coming along, and, well, frankly, Hollywood isn't always that well known for their adherence to the truth and trying to push forward a scientific investigation, much like the original Air Force Project Blue Book. So my father was quite hesitant at first about lending his name as technical advisor and being involved with this, as it could set back the hard-earned credibility he'd gained overnight. But fortunately, the movie turned out in his eyes quite well, and he was very pleased with it because he felt that it did make the public discourse about this phenomenon more acceptable. A lot of people could sort of identify with Richard Dreyfuss's character, Roy Neary, who's this kind of schlubby guy in Muncie, Indiana, working for a utility company, got a couple of kids who are whacking at his butt with a ping pong paddle to take a picture of him and stuff like that. It was normal, very much Americana. And then this thing happens to him, and he's compelled to go on this journey. And I think that's also sort of mirrors how people felt about my father. That here's this astrophysicist from the University of Chicago who is on the record as saying that there's nothing to UFOs, and then undergoes his own journey of discovery and says, reluctantly at first and then with a louder voice, hey, there's something happening here. There's something going on. I think that allowed a lot of people who are fair-minded individuals who are science-oriented to say, you know what, this guy seems pretty interesting, and I can relate to him. He didn't seem to swallow the Kool-Aid right away, so maybe there is something I should take a look at. So I think he felt that the movie Close Encounters was a really good turning point in society for people to feel more comfortable about saying, hey, you know what? I saw something like that. So, yeah, it was a really good event, a really good development.
When he watched the movie, was there any point in that movie that just stuck out to him as being way too real?
Well, like I mentioned, a lot of the cases, like the burning of the face and the electromagnetic impulses and disturbances of vehicles, those are all from real cases. So, he already knew that they were coming because he basically told Spielberg and the creative team of things like that, and they read these accounts in his books. So he'd already been living that dream for some time. So I think just seeing it on the screen and in Technicolor and all that was just all the more thrilling for him.
Fast forward to you here, Paul, as we look at the way Hollywood now portrays aliens. There's a very negative alien agenda out there that they're going to terrorize us and kill us all and ruin this planet. There's a lot of that going on. Yes, I went a little bit dramatic there for a moment, but trying to get the whole flair of it all. But
right.
We, even if you go into ufology, okay, Tom DeLonge and his group, they are promoting a negative and confrontational alien agenda, and yet so many statistics, so much other research in the past just doesn't really lend a lot of credence to that. What's your thoughts of that?
Yeah, I know Tom, and I am by nature an optimistic guy. And if I can go back to the concept of the singularity for a second, that point when artificial intelligence, I believe, will become self-aware, we've seen a lot of dystopian visions of how that might unfurl. In the movie The Matrix, Terminator, yada, 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 when computers wake up, it's sayonara humanity. I don't think that will happen. I think we will coexist. We will sort of merge together. We already have some sort of computer parts in us. Elon Musk and others working on neural laces, so inside your brain you can have access to the internet. I think by the year 2036 or thereabouts, when the singularity may well happen, it won't be them and us. It'll be thus. We'll sort of be mixed together. And I see that the same thing with aliens. And by aliens, I mean maybe extraterrestrial, maybe interdimensional. If AI wakes up and we're completely separate from it, I don't think it would have an antagonistic, unless it's programmed to, necessarily an antagonistic outlook towards humanity. We're not going to be competition for resources. We're not going to pose any threat to them. It's like, I mentioned we could go to an anthill outside of Tegucigalpa. Well, we don't really stomp on it because there's no reason to. We're sort of indifferent about this anthill, unless they start coming in our house and we freak out. So aliens, it's that same level, that same delta of technical capabilities that
right.
If they come here, there's really no axe to grind. They're really not worried. They're just,
Paul, I'm going to get you to hold on right there, my friend, because we're going to be coming out of break here momentarily. Paul Hynek, Project Blue Book, continues on Spaced Out Radio right after this.
Looking for a place to advertise at a very reasonable cost? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. SpacedOutRadio.com has an advertising tab that you can click to check out our daily, weekly, and monthly packages to play on the radio, or our website including social media. From commercial spots to banners, we have it all. Check out our competitive pricing today.
Hello, this is your guitar man, Ron Bumblefoot Thal, and I have to tell you, I love the response I get for Little Brother is Watching from Spaced Out Radio fans. It's amazing how music can inspire and make people think deeper about what's going on in the supernatural world. You can head over to my website, BUMBLEFOOT.com, to check out my music, my guitar workshops, my touring, even check out some of the hot sauces that I'm working on. And make sure you keep on listening, because with Spaced Out Radio, you know Little Brother is watching.
Heading to Vancouver and looking for a night on the town? The Moose Vancouver is the bar that never stops rocking until 2 a.m. every night. The Moose has great food with everything on the menu from $6.95 to $8.95. Fantastic, vibrant staff and rock and roll that will bring you back to when the music was real, the hair was long, and the guitars were rocking. Get your party on at the Moose Vancouver, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
From the heartlands of Canada to beards around the world, we know how to take care of you. Fill your follicles with the Mighty Moose Beard Oil. All our oils and balms are handmade and 100% natural ingredients because we care about your beard. And hey, use the promo code SOR2019 and get your Mighty Moose Beard Oil today. You can check us out on our website, mightymoosebeard.com.
You wanted new SOR gear, and now you can have it. The SOR Vault is fully stocked with t-shirts, hats, hoodies, mugs, and everything in between with great logos for you to choose from. So head on over to spacedoutradio.com, click on the SOR Vault, and go shopping. Pricing is quite affordable, and you can look good representing your favorite show. So go to our website and pick up your new SOR wear at the SOR Vault today.
Finish off your weekend and kick off your new week with me, Everett Thiemer, right here on Spaced Out Sundays. I'm going to bring you great guests, a little bit of snark, and plenty of information to think about. But don't worry, there's going to be plenty of woo as well. We are going to hit everything in the paranormal and supernatural, including the odd psychic Sundays. So tune us in on Sunday, 9:06 p.m. Pacific, 12:06 a.m. Eastern, right here at spacedoutradio.com.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com.
Every night on Spaced Out Radio, we have places for you to hang out. Hi, this is Carl. Join our SOR Space Travelers group on Facebook for live chat. On Twitter, using hashtag Spaced Out Radio. You can also join us in our Spreaker chat room. Check us out on Instagram at Dave Scott SOR. All of our archives are free on YouTube at Spaced Out Radio. By the way, I'll be watching you at your window until you do. Bye!
Move over, brother, and let me own Saturday night.
This is Rich Giordano, and I'm inviting you to tune on in to Spaced Out Saturdays starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, 12 a.m. Eastern, where I'm going to bust open the lids on everything paranormal. Why? Because we want answers, and I'm the guy who's going to deliver those answers to you. Join the chat rooms, and we'll see you this Saturday. Just be there. No, really.
We're adding to the entertainment online for Spaced Out Radio. I'm Amber Beckrud, and I want to invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel and check out Cryptid Tales, where I will take you on a journey into some of the strangest legends and lore from around the world, relaying the stories to you of the strange creatures and experiences that people have had throughout time. You can find Cryptid Tales at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. And while you're there, don't forget to check out our free archives and leave a comment. See you there.
Hey, space travelers, this is John Resig, founder of the CHIVE and CHIVE Charities. If you know anything about our website, you know we like to do things a little differently. We're not some faceless organization collecting money for a nebulous cause. Our donor dollars go directly toward life-improving items. Then we give those items directly to an underdog who needs it most. To become a donor with Spaced Out Radio's official charity, CHIVE Charities, just go to chivecharities.org/donate.
Hey everybody, the SOR Space Travelers is open. For just $5 a month, you can hang out with Dave and our crew privately in our members-only section. With your signing, you'll receive newsletters on what's going on with Spaced Out Radio. You'll have direct contact with the host during the show in our chat, live streaming videos, and a great forum for your posts and more. Become a space traveler now at spacedoutradio.com.
Looking for something new to push your limits? Look Beyond the Spectrum, a new docuseries featuring some of the best researchers in the world when it comes to everything from UFOs, government cover-ups, and Bigfoot in the forest. Truth seekers like Steve Bassett, Dr. Jeff Meldrum, Richard Dolan, as well as others all chip in to bring their knowledge to you. Beyond the Spectrum can be found on Amazon as well as Tubi TV. Tell us what you think on our Amazon page. We pass the halfway point of Spaced Out Radio tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters as the snow continues to fall outside. Finally, it looks like we're getting some winter around here. It's getting tired of wet roads. I mean, I want to slip and slide all over the place. Makes it much more fun and interesting through the winter. Hey, I want to remind all of you that if you've missed portions of this show or others, please do me the favor. Hit that subscribe button on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. All of our archives are free. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where you can get a plethora of features for you. Do a little shopping at the SOR Vault because you could get your Team Stump t-shirt there. Grab a book from We Read the Night. We got great authors. We also have our membership for the Space Travelers Club, just $5 a month. Captain Shirk has you all up to date on the news with the SOR Newswire, all at spacedoutradio.com. Paul Hynek is here tonight on Spaced Out Radio. We're talking his father, Dr. J. Allen Hynek, and Project Blue Book, and we're going to get into the television show right now. We want to give a shout-out to all those individuals who are working on Project Blue Book who are tuning on in tonight. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to us, maybe for the first time, hopefully not the last. Paul, welcome back.
How do, Dave? How to do?
I'm doing good. I'm still a little vaped up on the whole Team Stump thing right now, but that makes me feel good to have you on board.
Yeah, happy to be there.
Absolutely. Tell me how the television show started. How did you get approached, or your family get approached about this?
So the show started in the fertile mind of creator David O'Leary. And I got to say, David O'Leary and the showrunner, Sean Jablonski, and the former network executive, Arturo Antarian, are all huge UFO buffs. So their interest in the show is not just about, hey, UFOs and zombies always play well on cable. Let's rip this thing. Let's just go with this. They are walking encyclopedias of knowledge of UFO literature. So David came up with the idea, and he thought that my father was sort of a good foil or a good lens with which to describe the phenomenon. He liked the setting of the 1950s. Because, you have that sort of ever-present tension of the Russian or the Soviet menace. And it actually has some parallels. As Sean points out, it has some parallels to today with sort of fake news, because Project Blue Book was one of the first original fake news disseminators in the country. So David O'Leary came up with a show, and through some of our connections, they approached my brother Joel and I and asked us to serve as consultants on the show. And as I think you and the listeners will know, being a consultant on a show is an interesting proposition because you are asked for input, but you are not given approval. So before we met with them, we talked about it, and we've had people approach us left and right over the years to do something related to my father. And my niece, Joel's daughter Lauren, and her partner and our good friend Elizabeth Martin, who are very accomplished screenwriters, actually did a spec screenplay about my father for a feature film. So, and we've had people come up to us and option rights before, and so we were kind of used to the drill, let's say. And so when A&E, this is the sort of the mothership for history, approached us and said, "Hey, we'd like you to serve as consultants," we had a decision to make whether we should be involved or not. We first wanted to get a sense for if David and Sean and the other creatives and Jackie Levine and Jack Rapke and Bob Zemeckis, who are the executive producers and who really made the project viable, and a special shout out to Jackie because she's just such a wonderful woman. You know, we needed to get a sense for what their impetus was. You know, by and large, if someone's doing a show about our father, they're probably going to have a respectful take. Otherwise, why would you do it? But we wanted to really see how much they would appreciate the sort of tightrope that he had to walk as a scientist. So we met with them here in L.A., and my brother Joel was on the phone from China, and we had a very comfortable meeting where we'd actually each had some of the same creative ideas, like a Hynek vision protocol and things like that. And we quickly realized that they wanted to do something that would not always be 100% accurate, but that would be authentic to both my mother and father's characters, but also respectful of the overall field of ufology. So once we kind of had that meeting of minds, Joel and I reported back to our family that, look, this is a very interesting project with some very big names attached to it, and it's going to sort of create its own airspace. It's going to create a dialogue, and we have a chance to be involved, and we think we should do it, and we actually feel comfortable with the people involved, and we still do feel very comfortable with the people involved. We've become friends with them and work closely with them on reading the scripts and giving input and going to the set and talking with the cast who's just wonderful. So we become a nice part of the sort of machine that makes the show, and we're very happy with it because it is it does keep that authenticity. You know, the conceit or the structure of the first season of the show especially is all based on real life cases that my father and Michael Malarkey, who plays sort of an amalgamation of different UFO, different Project Blue Book folks, and Michael is just very interesting about Michael, who is a super stud and a musician. He grew up 10 minutes away from Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in real life, which is kind of a spooky detail. So, you know, we're involved in the show, and we're able to help sort of shape the contours of it and give a lot of background information and even some clothes. So it's been a very, very positive experience for us, and we think something that my father would think, hey, this is a rip-roaring good yarn, and he'd put on his slippers and his bathrobe and sit in his easy chair and with a bowl of popcorn and say, oh, this is a lot of fun. And my mom would have said something like, oh, it's a bunch of nonsense. You don't need to have me in there, because he had that sort of modest Midwest ethos. But overall, you know, the show is just, it really is a good fictionalized, let's say dramatized vehicle based on a lot of real life events. That by having these real life things, like you mentioned in Close Encounters and things that really stuck with you, it has that resonance, but it also has that dramatized aspect to make it really compelling week to week in the ferocious battle for ratings on TV. So I feel it strikes a really good balance between the needs of being a very compelling program to watch every week and a character study of my father and mother and the Air Force folks doing their best in the most murkiest of waters possible.
I was going to ask, on a serious note, what you think your parents would do in their reaction, because, you know, I know if my dad saw himself on TV and a character playing him, he'd probably slough it off like it's not a big deal. He's an old hand farm boy like that. You know, but okay. For me, I would be absolutely geeked out thinking, yeah, that's my pa up there. This about my dad, you know, and I'd try and, you know, enjoy the bragging rights for a little while.
Yeah, I think, you know, there's a picture of him on the set of Close Encounters next to Spielberg, and it's clear he's having a grand old time. There's really not much he has to do there. People respect the work he's done. So he's just really having a fantastic time, and that's how I've been on the set, because really my responsibility is, hey, Paul, you have to be somebody's son, and I can do that all day long. So it's been a very positive experience. I think, sort of mirrors some of the experience my father had on the set of Close Encounters. I think my father would very much like the show. He would be the first to point out, there are people that will say, oh my God, he's not smoking the pipe or he's not doing this. That's not really essential to the character. You maintain that authentic core, and I think Aidan Gillen has done a fantastic job at, and we've talked to him quite a lot about understanding the nature of my father and distilling it and using those parts which he thinks informs the character and adding his own little spin, and so I think it's a wonderful combination of Aidan's creativity and my father's authenticity.
Awesome. So how important was it for your family, for the writers of Project Blue Book, to make sure that they got your dad and your mom as authentic as they possibly could?
Yeah, really, that's the key, right? As a family, our responsibility is to try to maintain it as close as possible and then as respectful and as authentic as possible. So one of the first things that we wanted to look at was who they chose to play our father and mother. And we were very happy from the beginning with both Aidan as my father and Laura Manell, a Vancouver native who may be listening tonight, my TV mom. We're very comfortable with them, and we had a lot of conversations with them, and Laura talked with both Joel and I and my sister Roxanne as well. And we became increasingly comfortable with what they wanted to do. And so we think we got very lucky with the producers, the writers, and especially with the people playing the most important roles to us, our mother and father.
That is very cool. You definitely lucked out with that, because a lot of times Hollywood takes their way, and that's just the way it's going to be, because that's the way they have to write it in order for it to work. I mean, we saw that with Travis Walton in Fire in the Sky. And
right, and I know Travis has asked me to help him redo another version because he's not happy with that at all.
Yeah, I would love to see that done. I got to meet him for the first time earlier this year at the Alien Cosmic Expo in Toronto. What a great guy. What a fantastic guy.
I've come to know him. I've known him for 30 years, and he's a great guy. I wanted to mention two moments from the show that really stood out for me as a son of my parents. And one was, I was up there on the set watching the filming, and it was an episode from the first season where Aidan himself is driving a car. They're having a car chase. And between takes, he would come over and talk with me. And after one of our brief chats, he's going back to the car to drive it. He's wearing that sort of trench coat and the hat. And as he's walking away from me, I felt my father. Just that one little moment that, he had done something to really channel the essential core of my father. And then with Laura, who's just such a wonderful actress, it was in episode 10 of season 1. She's walking down the street, and she has this brooch on. And I look at it and I say, oh, that brooch looks really familiar. It was a brooch I had actually given to Laura a year before and forgotten about. And then I saw it on her, and sometimes I forget I'm watching a show about my parents because I get so engrossed in the drama. And then I hear someone say Alan or Mimi, and I get pulled back to, oh, that's right, this is about my parents. And so seeing that brooch, it's one thing to be on the set of the show, and it's this sort of parallel world to the actual reality I lived, but to see part of the reality I lived jump out of the show when I forgot that it was there, that's really a special moment.
I can totally hear the emotion in your voice when you say that, mm-hmm. and thank you for sharing that moment. That is fantastic. Yeah, and there's been an increasing variety of these moments where, and there was in episode 6 in season 2. I don't want to give away what happens, but there was just this moment where the whole cast and crew just burst out in applause at this one moment that really seemed to encapsulate so much of what the show is about. So I'll just leave it there for the viewers who've already watched season 1 and helped make it the highest rated news show on cable last year. I think they're in for a really rollicking good ride in season 2 because
I can disclose this because it's already been aired publicly. The first 2 episodes are about Roswell. So they're not holding anything back. And the show just gets even more, down the rabbit hole, or let's say wormhole, because it's about space, through the course of the season. And there was just this moment in episode 6, as I mentioned, that was just really, really super poignant for me.
That is fantastic. We have about 6.5 minutes before we got to go to break, 7 minutes before we got to go to break at the top of the hour. Paul Hynek is our guest tonight. We're talking about Project Blue Book. Paul, I have a couple questions from our audience, if you don't mind, in the SOR Space Travelers Club. And I'm going to start with Maureen's question here. Maureen is asking, what do you think, Mr. Hynek, about people who criticize the Project Blue Book television show because it takes dramatic liberties and may give a false impression of actual events?
Well, that's a fair question. And I think, the fact that it's on the History Channel or, exhibit on History Channel has really helped shape the contours of how it's presented. If you remember, there is a little thing at the beginning of each episode that says, go to the website to learn more about the actual events of the episode. And I think that does a lot because that tells you at the very beginning, okay, you're in for a fun ride, and it is based on truth, but we've then sort of dramatized other elements that may or may not be true, but are consistent with how the episode started. And then at the end, if you go to the website, they have interviews with Joel and me and Richard Dolan and Jacques Vallée and others talking about what really happened in the case. So the first episode is based on the Fuller dogfight, and it's called the Gorman dogfight in the show. So you can see the show, the producers go to great lengths to give these resources to find out, hey, what actually did happen or what was actually reported. So, yes, does the show take what people call liberties with the truth and run a little fancy free? Well, that's what a show, and it's not meant to be a documentary. It's meant to be a dramatized version based on real life events. So I think it strikes the balance pretty well as a family member. Now, this is late at night, so I think I can mention this. There are people that ask me, hey, Paul, did your mother really get flirty with a lesbian Russian spy? That's something that people ask at UFO conferences quite a lot. And the way I look at it is, you should see what they didn't put in the show that happened with my parents. No, I'm kidding, Mom.
My goodness. Project Dirty Book coming next in season 3.
I'm imagining my real life mom furrowing her brows looking at me right now. So, there are things that clearly didn't happen, but I think especially my father would expect that people would know that, no, he didn't go up in the airplane in that crash, and these things didn't happen, but they don't really take away from the essential truth of the broad story arc of an honest scientist confronted with this, really crazy phenomena and trying to make sense out of it while being stymied by the Russians, stymied by the Air Force, and by the nature of the phenomena itself. All the rest is fine-tuning, and it is done in a respectful way, so I'm quite happy with the show.
Haderach is asking in the SOR Space Travelers, which brother is the child in the show?
Okay, let me delicately answer that the child in the show, who is named Joel, really doesn't bear much of a resemblance. And one of the things we'd like to see, paralleling the fact that I don't think it gives away too much, that Mimi in season 2 really comes into her own. And this is something we talked about with the writers and Laura quite a lot, that Mimi was not just a reflection of my father, but had her own attitudes and her own important work in the UFO field. And so the producers of the show thought it's better to have her sort of grow into that over time. So we've made that point very strongly to everybody, and we think that that will pay off in my mother being a very strong character. What we've also talked to everybody related to the show about is that you've got this kid, and he plays the function of establishing that this is a family. I know we're going to have to break soon. He plays the function of establishing this as a family, but there's just not enough time really to develop him. Now, if there were more time, there'd be fascinating things happening at our house. You know, my oldest brother, Scott, went on and got a PhD from MIT, so he's really good engineer. My other brothers are great engineers. My sister's a fantastic artist. And in our backyard, Joel made a jet engine. We're digging holes that are so deep that my mom would come home and she looked in the hole and we're burrowing underground sideways and she couldn't see all of us. The rule was we had to fill in the hole and start digging another one because that would give her enough time to sort of catch her wits about it. So there's all kinds of things. Joel made nitroglycerin in the basement. And Joel was a genius with electronics. And so you could have these scenes in the show where the character Joel is playing with something on a more primitive level, but it sort of, you know, trips the wire in my dad's head, hey, maybe this propulsion system could come from this. So there's this richness of the children that could be funneled into the character Joel, but it's just really hard to have that much stuff away from the field of UFOs in a short show. And at one point, I asked Sean Jablonski over lunch if I was going to be in the show. And he looked at me and he said, no, you're not going to be born. I said, you don't have to say it like that. That's just the creepiest thing I've ever heard in my life. But, you know, for now, the purpose of the child, there's just not enough time to pour what we feel is this really the richness of the tapestry of our lives having been created by these two fantastic people, my father and my mother.
Interesting. Very interesting. Why do you think as we got about a minute and a half here before we go to break at the top of the hour, why do you think the public has jumped on the bandwagon about this series to this date?
Well, I think there's a lot of reasons. I mean, when you have people like Bob Zemeckis and Jack Rapke and Jackie Levine come on, you're going to have a production of super quality. And it's got a very filmic quality. I mean, the production value alone is just astounding for a TV show. Then you have fantastic actors, and you've got writers who are genuinely interested in the phenomena, and what was a very receptive, you know, audience at history. So you had sort of the stars aligned, have all these elements come true, and it's just a fascinating topic. So you've got interested, you know, otakus in the phenomena given a fair amount of latitude to make a rip-roaring yarn about just the most fascinating topic. I mean, aliens leave zombies in the dust for dramatic potential. So you just had a quality team come together from the get-go and really shoot high, and I think hit the mark.
I think that's great. Add to the fact that we found out that you are a member of Team Stump, which we really do appreciate. Paul, we got you for another... What's that, my friend?
Lifelong member of Team Stump. At least 15 minutes now.
I think we broke the 20-minute mark now, to be honest.
There we go. I'm on my age here. Yeah, okay, good.
That's just me, though. That's just me. I'm going to get you to hold on, Paul. We got you for another 30 minutes here on Spaced Out Radio. We're going to continue to talk about Project Blue Book and where ufology is heading right after this, because hour number 3 is right around the corner on Spaced Out Radio. Stay tuned.
Hello, this is your guitar man, Ron Bumblefoot Thal, and I have to tell you, I love the response I get for Little Brother is Watching from Spaced Out Radio fans. It's amazing how music can inspire and make people think deeper about what's going on in the supernatural world. You can head over to my website, bumblefoot.com, to check out my music, my guitar workshops, my touring, even check out some of the hot sauces that I'm working on. And make sure you keep on listening, because with Spaced Out Radio, you know Little Brother is watching.
We all know on Spaced Out Radio we love a good beard and mustache, so why not take care of your facial hair with Mighty Moose Beard Oil? Made in Canada, we're taking care of beards and stashes around the world. We use 100% natural ingredients with our oils and balms to make your whiskers feel silky smooth. Use promo code SOR2019 at MightyMooseBeard.com today.
Hey, space travelers, this is John Resig, founder of the CHIVE and CHIVE Charities. If you know anything about our website, you'd know we like to do things a little differently. We're not some faceless organization collecting money for a nebulous cause. Our donor dollars go directly toward life-improving items. Then we give those items directly to an underdog who needs it most. To become a donor with Spaced Out Radio's official charity, CHIVE Charities, just go to chivecharities.org/donate.
Looking for a place to advertise at a very reasonable cost? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. SpacedOutRadio.com has an advertising tab that you can click to check out our daily, weekly, and monthly packages to play on the radio, or our website including social media. From commercial spots to banners, we have it all. Check out our competitive pricing today.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com.
We're adding to the entertainment online for Spaced Out Radio. I'm Amber Beckrud, and I want to invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel and check out Cryptid Tales, where I will take you on a journey into some of the strangest legends and lore from around the world, relaying the stories to you of the strange creatures and experiences that people have had throughout time. You can find Cryptid Tales at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. And while you're there, don't forget to check out our free archives and leave a comment. See you there.
A timepiece is a reflection of who you are, and what better way to show off the real you than with an Escape watch? Escape is a lifestyle brand accessorizing your days and nights. Choose to escape and create the life of discovery that you deserve. Dream, play, unite with your own personalized Escape watch. Head to escapewatches.com. There is no time like the present to enjoy your escape. Use promo code SMF2017 for your 20% discount today.
Move over, brother, and let me own Saturday night.
This is Rich Giordano, and I'm inviting you to tune on in to Spaced Out Saturdays starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, 12 a.m. Eastern, where I'm going to bust open the lids on everything paranormal. Why? Because we want answers, and I'm the guy who's going to deliver those answers to you. Join the chat rooms, and we'll see you this Saturday. Just be there. No, really.
At spacedoutradio.com, we have a little bit of everything for you to stay up late. So while you're there, check out our SOR Newswire, where our team brings you stories of the weird and strange to the WTF from around the globe. News on Bigfoot, UFOs, paranormal, Darwinian-type crime tales. It's the stories that the mainstream media usually won't touch. Well, we got them all on the SOR Newswire, only at spacedoutradio.com.
A little bit of science, a little bit of skepticism. Add a dash of snark and you have the makings of Spaced Out Sundays with me, Everett Thiemer. Together we will look into the reality of the paranormal with an open eye and rational thought. Oh, did I mention there'll be plenty of woo as well? Your time spent with Spaced Out Sundays will make the night even better. The chat rooms are open, 9:06 p.m. Pacific, 12:06 a.m. Eastern, right here at spacedoutradio.com.
The SOR Vault is open for business, and do we have some cool swag for you to pick up? All you have to do is head over to our website and click on the SOR Vault. You have a variety of cool logos to choose from, and put them on anything you want. T-shirts, hoodies, hats, coffee mugs, you name it, we can get it to you. So do your shopping by supporting the store you love. Get your Spaced Out Radio swag at the SOR Vault today.
For the price of 1 cup of coffee a month, you can become an SOR Space Traveler. The Space Travelers Club is a place where you can interact with other listeners, either live during the show or on our great forum. We want your stories, pictures, comments, and ideas. You'll get live video streams, exclusive content, and be a part of our newsletter. Stay in touch with everything SOR. The Space Travelers Club is just $5 a month at spacedoutradio.com.
Heading to Vancouver and looking for a night on the town? The Moose Vancouver is the bar that never stops rocking until 2 a.m. every night. The Moose has great food with everything on the menu from $6.95 to $8.95. Fantastic, vibrant staff and rock and roll that will bring you back to when the music was real, the hair was long, and the guitars were rocking. Get your party on at the Moose Vancouver, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
Every night on Spaced Out Radio, we have places for you to hang out. Hi, this is Carl. Join our SOR Space Travelers group on Facebook for live chat. On Twitter, using hashtag Spaced Out Radio. You can also join us in our Spreaker chat room. Check us out on Instagram at Dave Scott SOR. All of our archives are free on YouTube at Spaced Out Radio. By the way, I'll be watching you at your window until you do. Bye!
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
Would you like to connect with us? Head to spacedoutradio.com for all your latest show info. Now, back to Dave Scott and SOR.
Welcome back to the third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio. Tonight, I am your host, Dave Scott. Appreciate you tuning on in and listening to us, especially if you're listening in on WQEE 99.1 FM in Noonan, Georgia, KDNF AM 1560 in Dangerfield, Texas, KDUN AM 1030 in Reedsport, Oregon, KZFX 93.7 FM in Ridgecrest, California, and UPRN 107.7 FM in New Orleans. On the digital side, hi to everyone listening in on Kingdom of Nye Radio and Revolution Radio. Great to have you with us. Remember, all of our archives are free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Yakadon. Yakadon is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We got a plethora of features for you. Do a little shopping at the SOR Vault. Grab yourself a Team Stump t-shirt because Paul says you need one. We got great books that we read tonight. You can join the Space Travelers Club for $5 a month. Rock out to Bumblefoot, and Captain Shirk has you up to date on the SOR Newswire. For the final time tonight, we introduce Paul Hynek. He is the son of the late Dr. J. Allen Hynek. Could be called one of the granddaddies of ufology in the United States. We're talking Project Blue Book, UFOs, and whatever else comes to mind as we got up till the bottom of the hour. Paul, welcome back.
Yeah, I guess you could call my dad the UFO OG.
Let's do that. Let's bring him up to today's day. You know, with the television show, with all the episodes that came out in season 1, and now, I mean, season 2 is just about to get going. Going back to season 1, was there an episode that really stuck out for you, and you were like, "Hey, I remember Dad talking about that one"?
Yeah, they're all barn burners. But maybe I'd say the episode 10 with the flap over Washington D.C.
Yeah.
The other earlier one about Barney and Betty Hill. Episode 9. Barney and Betty Hill is just a seminal case in UFO literature. One of the first really well-known abductee cases, and because of the personalities involved, really no reason to want to go public with it. So that was a very riveting case for my father, and he came to know them quite well. And of course, now the niece of Betty Hill is Kathleen Martin, who's the head of experiencer research for MUFON.
Yes. Good friend of this show as well.
Yeah, just a wonderful, brilliant woman.
Yeah, indeed. She is extremely smart when it comes to this entire topic. You know, one of the things that I did want to ask you, and I realize it's extremely hypothetical considering Dad passed away a couple of decades ago, but what do you think his reaction would be to today's ufology and the way it's shifted, the way it's become a massive topic on social media, in podcasting and vlogs on YouTube, you know, people making fake videos in order to try and make a few bucks off of places like YouTube or get that 15 minutes of fame. What do you think his reaction would be to what's going on here?
Yeah, so I think there should be two competing thoughts in his mind. The first would be gratitude or happiness that there is what I feel to be an increased aperture of legitimacy to talk about the phenomena, that more people can talk about it and feel safe in doing so. Then, you know, there's a lot of aspects of it. You know, as a scientist, you know, my father, you know, you ask him, hey, has this person, are they telling the truth? Did this really happen to this person? And my father would say, how the heck should I know? I wasn't there. But in talking with them and getting to know them, I believe that they believe they had an experience. And that's as far as a scientist can go. So now, along with the development that people are more comfortable talking about UFOs, naturally they're also more comfortable talking about less scientifically replicatable aspects of the overall UFO experience. As a scientist, there's just not a lot you can do with that. You can't corroborate events that happen or telepathic communication that's purported to happen between, again, let's call it an alien and an earthling. So, you know, I don't know. As a scientist, there's just not much you can do with that. I think, you know, my father was interested in all aspects of it, but the parts that he honed in on where he felt he could take that, like we talked about, that dim flashlight at the boundaries of science and make a little bit more order.
Would you personally now look at ufology today and considering everything you have learned through the history of your family, are you pleased with what you see? Do you follow the events on social media where there's some great information coming out? However, there is an absolute overabundance of drama within the community that's kind of tearing it apart at the same time?
Well, I don't follow anything on social media, so I can't answer that. But I have my sort of finger on the pulse of ufology from being involved with the show, speaking at conferences, and being involved with the Center for UFO Studies and MUFON, and just having lifelong acquaintances and friends in the field. So I feel pretty much part of the field and know what's going on. And I'll tell you that I'm very interested in, and I have a good friend who lives here in Calabasas, Nova Spivak. We're very interested in various expeditions, and I'm talking with Kevin Day about a fantastic expedition idea that he has in coordination with our friend Dave Altman. So I'm getting involved in these various endeavors, and I actually am particularly interested myself in trying to demonstrate whether UFOs come from another dimension. That's my hottest area of interest in the field right now.
Why is that?
Because I kind of feel like where my dad left off. He and Jacques Vallée, as I mentioned, were leaning towards that kind of extra hypothesis that, you know, an interdimensional hypothesis adds a bit more sort of arrows to the quiver of what these entities and the crafts can do. And now there are modalities available to perhaps explore other dimensions that I'm very eagerly participating in.
That's a big jump.
Yeah, and I'm being fairly circumspect, but I'm not a scientist, so I can be a little bit more out there. But yeah, there are potential avenues now through non-physical means of transportation that can maybe shed light on this sort of interdimensional hypothesis. And I find that very rich and just overwhelmingly fascinating.
Yeah, you mentioned Dave Altman. You mentioned Dave Altman there. He's a good friend of this show as well, and we should give a shout out to him because he is one classy good dude in the field.
Yeah, he's awesome. And another area I'm interested in, along with my brother Joel, is we talked about the technology, is reverse engineering the propulsion system of UFOs. And we were spurred on by our friend Hoyt Yateman, who started reading the works of Claude Poher, the renowned French astrophysicist and UFO researcher in his own right. And so Hoyt is a skilled machinist, and he, with my brother Joel, who's fantastic at electronics, and me, the junior lab assistant, started doing experiments to try to replicate Claude Poher's experiments with universons to create an anti-gravity machine.
How'd that go for you?
We had one interesting result so far, but we've got a lot more work to do. But, then you hear Jacques talk about how he knows 4 or 5 companies in the Bay Area who are also working on anti-gravity. So I think, because I think the singularity will happen in most of our lifetimes. We will have anything that you want, but I think things like 3D molecular level desktop printing, anti-gravity, post-scarcity economy, these are types of things that will happen within the next 15, 20 years, I believe.
I got a question coming from the SOR Space Travelers group on Spreaker from Cog up in Alaska. And he is asking, Paul, do you recall ever being talked to by school officials, members of the Men in Black, people, or strange occurrences as a kid, and people prying you for information?
Oh, so, yeah, the Men in Black were very much real. I don't remember any particular encounters with them, but I'll tell you about one gentleman who started calling the house when I was about 10 years old. And he said his name was Prince Michael, and he's from Orion. Now, being a smart alecky little kid, I said, yeah, you're probably just from the Pleiades. I don't think you're from Orion. And he started saying that he could prove that he's from Orion. I said, well, how do you go about doing that? And he said, well, first of all, where's your father? He said, he's in Italy. So the seismic activity is really bad there. And tomorrow, President Brezhnev of the Soviet Union and President Reagan will both be hand-slaughtered on the steps of the Kremlin and the White House, respectively. And I accused him of, wobbling into melodrama. And he said, no, you watch, it'll happen. And it didn't happen. So then we had this sort of ongoing quest for him to prove to me that he was legit. Then he said, how about this? Will you believe me if I put $1 million in your bank account? And I said, you're darn right I will. And so I asked my mom, I said, hey, Mom, can I give Prince Michael my bank account number? And I was expecting her to say, oh, no, get off the phone. And she said, sure, why not? You got all of $10 in there. What's he going to do? So I'm like, yeah, Mom. So I gave Prince Michael my bank account number, and he said, you'll have the money within 3 days. So I get on my Schwinn fastback bicycle, and every day I go down to the bank. And on the way there, I'm spending all the money in my mind. And when you're 10 years old, $1 million is virtually unlimited. So, but every day I'd ride home in despair, crestfallen that the money hadn't arrived. And so I talked to Michael, and I said, Michael, where's the money? He goes, oh, yeah, I'm having problems with the interstellar wire transfer process. I said, oh, my God. Right? So well, there's something. And then he said, okay, Paul, I'll prove it. He pulls out his trump card. He says, call the CIA and they will admit that they're scared of me. And I said, oh, this is just too good to pass up. So he gives me the number for the Central Intelligence Agency, and I call them up. And I say, first of all, I am a red, white, and blue American. I love the work that you guys do. Big fan here. And I kept disclaiming. They finally said, what is it that you want to say? And I said, well, I'm calling on behalf of this guy who says he's Prince Michael from Orion. I think he's really from the Pleiades. He says you guys are scared of him, and I wanted to see what you guys said. Now, mind you, I'm still talking to the opening receptionist, not like some, field agent. And I tell her, Prince Michael says you guys are scared. What do you say? And the woman says to me, well, Paul, put it this way. We're not losing a lot of sleep over him. So, wow, the CIA's got a sense of humor. So the next day, Prince Michael calls me up, and he said, did you call them? Yes. What did they say? And I told him. He goes, oh, well, you didn't expect them to really admit it, did you? Like, oh, you're so weaselly. So I didn't get the $1 million. I didn't get the proof. But we had a lot of interesting, colorful characters like that throughout our childhood of all different stripes.
Oh, my goodness. I mean, and here I was waiting for some wealthy prince to send me an email on that, and I still haven't got that one yet.
Michael, if you're listening, I still want that friggin' $1 million. You owe me, buddy. Interstellar wire transfer.
Interstellar. That's a good one. That is quite creative, even for the time. I mean, he was onto something with email spam way before email was even created.
He was, hip to cosmic banking difficulties.
No kidding. Come on, Michael. Prince Michael, where are you? Make it happen.
Right?
Get Paul his $1 million bucks.
Come on, Mikey, baby.
Gee whiz. What a jerk.
Yeah.
What a complete jerk. I'm sorry you had to go through that trauma.
Well, I was equal parts elation and trauma, so I was kind of balanced out.
But when something like that happened as a child, did you or your brothers or family members get bullied over this when it started coming out what your dad did?
Oh, no. We're asked that fairly often. Like, did we get picked on? Not at all. First and foremost, my dad was a respected astronomer professor at Northwestern. So there was nothing really loopy about him. He just had this hobby that was a bit, out of mainstream. But whenever my friends would find out about it, they would say, oh, that's so cool. So I've heard my brother Joel answer this also at a conference. I can't remember, and I don't think he has any memories, any negative impressions at all from our friends. I mean, yes, I've been with people and someone introduced me and said, oh, you know who his father is, blah, blah, blah. And they'll say, oh, well, I don't believe in UFOs. I'm like, okay, fine. It's not really something you have to believe in. But as a kid, no, it was just great. My dad was this respected guy, and people thought it was really cool what he was doing. So, yeah, it was all positive all the time.
You got lucky then, considering the potential circumstances.
Yeah, I mean, as I look back, I say, oh, okay, but, nobody teased us. No, there's just nothing. Just people that found out about it were just kind of intrigued. And even if they didn't really believe in UFOs, they thought it was kind of interesting that this, dyed-in-the-wool astrophysicist is actually looking into it. And then the movie Close Encounters came out. That was just super cool.
Yeah, I could see where that all of a sudden kicked things into a different gear.
Yeah.
We only have about 4.5 minutes left with you tonight.
Yeah, dude.
And I want to say thank you for doing this because it's been so entertaining and intriguing. As you kind of sit on the outskirts of ufology, yes, you're involved with Project Blue Book, the television show. Yes, you have this amazing history, you and your family, with who your father was, and God bless him for a fantastic career in doing what he did. Where do you see all of this going? Where do you see, if you were to have a crystal ball to look into the future or a team stump, to look into the future, where do you see this all going? Do you see this ending well for the people of this planet? Do you see this ending up in some sort of conspiracy or washed underneath, the carpet once again, so that way it goes back into obscurity? How do you see it playing out?
Oh, okay. That's a good, meaty question to finish things off with. I see that the truth will come out. I don't know exactly what the truth is, but I don't think you can keep a good secret down that long. So I think the truth will come out. It's not going to be in a box in that big warehouse in the movie Raiders of the Lost Ark, stuffed away somewhere. And I'll tell you, again, I'm an optimist. I'm not afraid that much, although there is reason to have concern about contact with other civilizations, or about, more imminently, our own sort of birthed artificial intelligence sentience that will arrive on the Earth. I'm actually more worried right here and right now, less about alien life, less about artificial intelligence, and more about human stupidity. We are driving this planet. We are killing this planet. We are changing the climate. We are making it inhospitable for our species and all the other species on the planet. We may not survive our own darn selves. And I think having a little bit of help from artificial intelligence or other cultures, other civilizations, probably could only help us from destroying ourselves.
It's pretty deep.
Yeah, that's my story, and I'm sticking to it, Dave Scott.
Well, and you know what? I don't blame you for that. I think there is some concerns out there with everything that is going on in this world right now, and it's something that we do have to take a little bit more seriously than we probably have in the past. And when it comes to the whole UFO aspect of everything, do you see that continuing to be a big game that continues between what the government knows and what the public perceives? Or do you see it actually opening up to where, who knows, maybe one day in the near future, even in our lifetimes, aliens arrive?
Well, whatever the government has tucked away in Area 51 and in various Air Force bases and subterranean forts, whatever, they are acting in a way, like I said, that's consistent with them wanting to disclose more information. Why would the Navy say, hey, we need help with UFOs? Why would they release these videos? And I think part of that, is to the credit of To the Stars Academy. But the government, if they have these secrets, I do think they would probably think they can't keep them down forever. So I'm not by nature a conspiracy theorist, and I don't know. I've not seen any evidence that the government has alien bodies and, crashed saucers. But, you asked about sort of the difference between public perception and government disclosure or government knowledge. The government just does seem to be acting of late, the American government, in a way that seems to indicate that they've got something that they want to get off their shoulders. They want to get a little bit more open kimono. It's hard to see what they're doing in any other light. So to me, that's actually more indicative of a potential secret than documents and things like that.
Paul, I want to say thank you so much for coming on Spaced Out Radio tonight, talking about your wonderful father, Dr. J. Allen Hynek, talking about Project Blue Book and Project Blue Book, the television series. What a privilege for us and our listeners to have you here, my friend. Thank you.
It was my pleasure. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Coming up next, we have the SOR Newswire and the Thought of the Day to wrap up my week before heading into the weekend with Rich and Everett. Stay tuned.
We're adding to the entertainment online for Spaced Out Radio. I'm Amber Beckrud, and I want to invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel and check out Cryptid Tales, where I will take you on a journey into some of the strangest legends and lore from around the world, relaying the stories to you of the strange creatures and experiences that people have had throughout time. You can find Cryptid Tales at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. And while you're there, don't forget to check out our free archives and leave a comment. See you there.
We all know on Spaced Out Radio we love a good beard and mustache, so why not take care of your facial hair with Mighty Moose Beard Oil? Made in Canada, we're taking care of beards and stashes around the world. We use 100% natural ingredients with our oils and balms to make your whiskers feel silky smooth. Use promo code SOR2019 at MightyMooseBeard.com today.
Hey everybody, the SOR Space Travelers is open. For just $5 a month, you can hang out with Dave and our crew privately in our members-only section. With your signing, you'll receive newsletters on what's going on with Spaced Out Radio. You'll have direct contact with the host during the show in our chat, live streaming videos, and a great forum for your posts and more. Become a space traveler now at spacedoutradio.com.
Move over, brother, and let me own Saturday night.
This is Rich Giordano, and I'm inviting you to tune on in to Spaced Out Saturdays starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, 12 a.m. Eastern, where I'm going to bust open the lids on everything paranormal. Why? Because we want answers, and I'm the guy who's going to deliver those answers to you. Join the chat rooms, and we'll see you this Saturday. Just be there. No, really.
At spacedoutradio.com, we have a little bit of everything for you to stay up late. So while you're there, check out our SOR Newswire, where our team brings you stories of the weird and strange to the WTF from around the globe. News on Bigfoot, UFOs, paranormal, Darwinian-type crime tales. It's the stories that the mainstream media usually won't touch. Well, we got them all on the SOR Newswire, only at spacedoutradio.com.
Hello, this is your guitar man, Ron Bumblefoot Thal, and I have to tell you, I love the response I get for Little Brother is Watching from Spaced Out Radio fans. It's amazing how music can inspire and make people think deeper about what's going on in the supernatural world. You can head over to my website, bumblefoot.com, to check out my music, my guitar workshops, my touring, even check out some of the hot sauces that I'm working on. And make sure you keep on listening, because with Spaced Out Radio, you know Little Brother is watching.
Heading to Vancouver and looking for a night on the town? The Moose Vancouver is the bar that never stops rocking until 2 a.m. every night. The Moose has great food with everything on the menu from $6.95 to $8.95. Fantastic, vibrant staff and rock and roll that will bring you back to when the music was real, the hair was long, and the guitars were rocking. Get your party on at the Moose Vancouver, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
Hey Spaced Out Radio fans, it's John Resig, founder of the CHIVE and CHIVE Charities. Our goal is to make the life of veterans, first responders, and those with rare medical conditions 10% happier. We do this by donating one grant item, ranging from dance to therapy programs to prosthetic limbs, to those who need it most. To contribute to Spaced Out Radio's official charity, head over to chivecharities.org and become a donor today.
You wanted new SOR gear, and now you can have it. The SOR Vault is fully stocked with t-shirts, hats, hoodies, mugs, and everything in between, with great logos for you to choose from. So head on over to spacedoutradio.com, click on the SOR Vault, and go shopping. Pricing is quite affordable, and you can look good representing your favorite show. So go to our website and pick up your new SOR wear at the SOR Vault today.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
A little bit of science, a little bit of skepticism. Add a dash of snark and you have the makings of Spaced Out Sundays with me, Everett Thiemer. Together we will look into the reality of the paranormal with an open eye and rational thought. Oh, did I mention there'll be plenty of woo as well? Your time spent with Spaced Out Sundays will make the night even better. The chat rooms are open, 9:06 p.m. Pacific, 12:06 a.m. Eastern, right here at spacedoutradio.com.
Looking for a place to advertise at a very reasonable cost? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. SpacedOutRadio.com has an advertising tab that you can click to check out our daily, weekly, and monthly packages to play on the radio, or our website including social media. From commercial spots to banners, we have it all. Check out our competitive pricing today.
Every night on Spaced Out Radio, we have places for you to hang out. Hi, this is Carl. Join our SOR Space Travelers group on Facebook for live chat. On Twitter, using hashtag Spaced Out Radio. You can also join us in our Spreaker chat room. Check us out on Instagram at Dave Scott SOR. All of our archives are free on YouTube at Spaced Out Radio. By the way, I'll be watching you at your window until you do. Bye!
We've rounded third. We're heading for home tonight on Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, hanging out with all of you on a snowy night here in the frozen Canadian tundra. Want to remind all of you, if you've missed most of this show or others, you can always check out our free archives at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, do a little shopping at the SOR Vault. You can also join the Space Travelers Club for $5 a month. Pick up a great book at We Read the Night. And Captain Shirk, she's working diligently finding stories about the weird, the strange, and the highly funny SOR Newswire tonight. The news is always changing, which is why we bring you the SOR Newswire at the back end of every show, where we get to the weird, the strange, the wacky. Everything's on our website, as we just mentioned. Residents of a city in China have been stunned to see what look like 3 suns hanging above the horizon. The scene, spotted in the province of Xinjiang yesterday, is caused by a natural phenomenon known as a sundog. Pictures and footage captured by eyewitnesses show 2 glowing spots called phantom suns appearing on the left and right side of the actual sun, which was setting. Yeah, this looks kind of trippy, to be honest. A sundog happens when sunlight passes through ice crystals in a particular way when they are suspended in the air. The rare optical illusion was observed yesterday afternoon, in Korgas, a prefecture-level city in the western part of Xinjiang, with a population of about 65,000. The sight brought a stunning halo to the small city on an otherwise biting cold day. One university student, who calls herself Shi Li, witnessed the scene when she was having a video chat with her sister, who lives out of town. The 20-year-old said she was amazed by it, even if what she saw was through her phone. Yeah, she went on to say, "I was wondering at the time, has heaven opened up? At first, I thought there was something wrong with my vision, but after I heard many people saw it, I realized it was actually happening." Meteorological engineer Brian Yun says the sundogs rarely happen in China. Mr. Bian, who works for the Chinese meteorological, the weather place. Why can't I pronounce this one on it? Meteorological Administration explained there are many hexagon-shaped ice crystals in the semi-transparent, delicate clouds in the sky. Occasionally, they will line up finely and horizontally in the sky. When the sunlight shines on these crystals, such irregular reflections occur. Well, isn't that nice? Meteorological. See, can do it now. Story's over. Darn it. Oh, here's a psychic we should get on the air. A California woman posing as a psychic and intuitive. Yeah, well, she duped clients out of $100,000 by promising she could double their money with a blessing. According to police, the scam artist named Perlita Afonso Bales was arrested by the Sacramento Police Department and was put on the most wanted list. Victims said Afonso Bales, who went by the name Eva Maria, told them to leave their money with her with the promise she'd return the blessed cash and that it would increase twofold. By the time they returned to the con artist's home, September 22nd, guess what? She wasn't there. She'd run off with the money, according to cops. Pardon me, she hasn't been arrested yet. She is wanted for grand theft and theft by false pretenses. Imagine that. Another psychic caught for duping people. $100,000. If I did that, I'm out of the country. Quick. Very, very fast. Hop a couple of jets. Set up somewhere like Costa Rica, Guatemala. Maybe one of them islands in the Pacific. Stay somewhere warm. That's what I would do. But that's just me. I shouldn't speak too loud in case I decide to do that one day. There's my confession. The truth about UFOs is out there, and now enthusiasts and researchers will have a chance to comb through a massive trove of documents. Canadian science writer and ufologist Chris Rutkowski out of Winnipeg, Manitoba, just donated his entire collection of more than 20,000 UFO reports filed over the last 3 decades, plus another 10,000 UFO-related documents from the Canadian government to the University of Manitoba. A number of these documents concern the so-called Falcon Lake incident in Manitoba, which Rutkowski believes is one of the best documented UFO cases not only in Canadian history, but the world. It beats even Roswell, because the United States still doesn't recognize that anything happened in Roswell, he has mentioned in the media. According to Live Science, the Falcon Lake incident struck officials as strange and hard to explain. It reportedly took place May 20th, 1967, when industrial mechanic Stefan Michalek was prospecting in the wilderness for quartz and silver and was startled by a gaggle of geese that seemed agitated by something nearby. Michalek looked up and saw 2 cigar-shaped objects hovering about 150 feet away. One descended and landed while the other flew off. He then sketched the one that had landed and decided to approach it about 30 minutes later, noticing the smell of sulfur as he approached. Saucer got so hot that it burned through his gloves when he touched it. As the story goes, when the object rotated and sped away, Michalek's torso was sprayed with a hot gas, leaving him with first-degree burns on his stomach. He suffered headaches, diarrhea, and blackouts for several weeks after that. Years later, a piece of metal was found from the alleged landing site, and tests showed it's highly radioactive. These are called non-arts parts. The Canadian University has launched a crowdfunding effort to digitize the trove of documents. All right. An attorney was reported missing in Atlanta earlier this week. Yeah, he was injured in a car wreck and died at a local hospital. Demetrius Allen had recently moved to the Atlanta area from Orlando and was staying at his godmother's house while interviewing for jobs in Atlanta. He was last seen December 6th when he met friends at a bar in East Atlanta Village. Allen's godmother reported him missing on the 8th. Our investigation determined that Mr. Allen was involved in a traffic accident in Clayton County before he was reported missing by loved ones, according to the police statement. Unfortunately, Mr. Allen succumbed from his injuries the next day at the hospital. His next of kin were notified. That's kind of weird. Kind of strange. All right. What would you do if you woke up in the morning, checked your bank account, and there was millions of dollars sitting in your account? You know you didn't win the lottery. You know Aunt Bernice or Uncle Fester didn't all of a sudden put it in there from their will. Well, this happened to a Dallas woman. She discovered her bank account had more than $37 million in it. Unfortunately, it turned out to be a clerical error. Rush Balloon says she checked her account balance at Legacy Texas Bank and was shocked to see $37,203,337.66 sitting in her account. Yeah, she couldn't explain it. She knew she didn't rob a bank. She says, I was like, wow, we have a lot of money. Balloon says she told her husband about the mysterious fortune, and he called the bank. Legacy Texas Bank told the couple the money was the result of a clerical error, and the mistake was corrected. I was a millionaire. I have the screenshot of it. So I can say that now, Balloon says. It's quite a story. The bank explained the incident in a statement. Our client made a foreign currency deposit into her Legacy account. The statement said, due to the fluctuation in exchange rates, all foreign currency transactions must be manually entered into our system through our bank office. When our client's deposit was keyed in, our representatives accidentally entered her account number wrong. A New York man was sentenced to probation in 2010 when $5 million was mistakenly deposited into his bank account. Benjamin Lovell said he repeatedly tried to work the situation with the bank out, but ended up spending a chunk of the funds on his investments, gifts, and medical costs. Lovell was originally charged with larceny, but pleaded guilty to a lesser charge. As part of a deal with prosecutors, he was sentenced to probation. So what would you do? What would you do? You got to give it back. You have to. You just can't run around. You can't go take a deposit like that, or pardon me, a withdrawal like that, carry it around. The bank isn't going to have it. It's probably going to be a red flag. If you're like me and you got like $8.12 in your bank, I got a couple bucks more, but not much. But let's say you have like $10 in your bank, and all of a sudden you're trying to withdraw the $37 million that's already in there. You're going to get caught. Now, 30, 40 years ago, I think that's a different story. I really do. But today, with the technology and the tracking, yeah, no point. No point at all. A Colorado woman reportedly gave some porch pirates a taste of their own medicine this week by leaving trash-filled Amazon packages outside her front door. Christine Hyatt in Colorado Springs said that thieves have stolen at least 20 packages from her porch, and last Wednesday was the third time she was able to dupe the criminals into removing her garbage for free. We forgot to set our trash out for Thanksgiving, so we were overflowing with trash, she told the station. I've had packages stolen, and I went, you know what? I have some extra Amazon boxes. Let's see if someone will take our trash. Oh, this is beautiful. Beautiful. Hyatt says the thieves are more than just inconvenient. Among the items that have been stolen was her daughter's diabetes medication. She can't afford to have her own medication stolen just because people are jerks, Hyatt said. This is my way of fighting back. In her next package, Hyatt plans to include cigarette butts, kitty litter, and fast food wrappers. My daughter told me that it was gross, but they deserve it. You got to go for one of those stink bombs that shoots glitter all over the place. That's what you got to go for. That's what the kids are doing these days. Never mind the rotten chicken or turkey from Thanksgiving, although that's going to be stinky. Probably a little noticeable. They open up the package, stink bomb goes off, glitter goes everywhere. Everybody wins. Because, you know, the one thing about glitter, it never goes away. It's the gift that keeps on giving. It totally is. You find that stuff 20 years down the road stuck in your ear or whatever. It never goes away. All right. Thousands of creatures resembling male penises have washed up on a beach in California. Yeah, the Pornhub crowd is going nuts over this. Pun intended. The pulsating creatures are fat innkeeper worms or Eurychus capo. Although they are a type of worm, they are widely referred to as the penis fish. Uncircumcised, of course. The worms bury themselves deep beneath the sand, but recent storms have uprooted them, and Drake's Beach, about 50 miles north of San Francisco, has been covered in the creatures. Yes, the physical design of the fat innkeeper worm has some explaining to do, but the fat innkeeper is perfectly shaped for a life spent underground, wrote biologist Ivan Parr. There is fossil evidence of the creatures dating back 300 million years, and some live up for 25 years, he added. I'm telling you, I'm looking at a picture of this. That's a lot of penis fish on the beach. It really is. Oh, I could make a comment here. I just could, but I'm not going to. I don't want to get in trouble. Within a beach, the creatures will dig a U-shaped burrow, extended several feet long. Their more polite nickname, innkeeper worm, comes from this subterranean lifestyle and the tunnels they create for other animals as they burrow underground. Several other species, including fish, sharks, and otters, feast on the penis fish. And it is considered, of course, here it comes, and it is considered food for humans as well in East Asia, and it's a delicacy in countries like South Korea. These things are disgusting. I'm not eating a worm, especially a worm that looks like an uncircumcised penis. It's terrible. Skin tone and everything. Like, if you haven't seen one of these things, Google it. Google it. It's terrible. Marty, where's my clown? It's a terrible clown today, Marty. Terrible. On Twitter, hashtag Spaced Out Radio. Today's thought of the day to end the week is as follows. What's your thoughts on Project Blue Book? The government project? Not the TV show. On Twitter, A51S. Completely probable. But every time I used to bring it up to someone on here, aka Twitter, he would say it's a cover for alien invasion because they are here. Made a compelling argument, explained things differently on the subject. Penis fish. Just fun to say. Moving on, Tim. Another dramatization show, out of order stories time-wise, and takes liberties with his wife's sexual orientation, etc. It is television. Yeah, I was talking about the government project, not the TV show, Tim. That's okay. You're a cool guy. Robert, I read the reports. Nothing exciting there. Nothing very exciting there. Nothing extra exciting there. Nothing extraterrestrial there either. Robert, you broke my heart. Kelly, well, since you said not the TV show, Dave, I find the fact that they actually studied the phenomena pretty interesting. I wonder what was in the study that we didn't see, though. Thank you, Kelly, with an extra E. Robert, they canceled this project because of too much evidence. They were so overwhelmed that they knew they better close this down and keep it calm and chive on for the public. I added the chive on thing because we support Chive Charities here. ChiveCharities.org. Find them at spacedoutradio.com. Alfred, Project Blue Book? It's all a farce, man. David agrees. He says, I'm with Alfred on this one. Project Blue Book was a farce. Little Frankie Stalter and his caged face when he plays hockey, not to upset his power mustache, says, it changed the way we took and looked at UFOs forever. Captain Ruppelt was something of a one-man TTSA in his day. Wasn't a rock star, though. William, as in William Pullen, the UFO historian. He goes on to say Project Blue Book, specifically under the leadership of Captain Edward J. Ruppelt, was a more legitimate attempt to investigate UFO sightings as opposed to the earlier Project Grudge. Without Ruppelt at the helm, Blue Book became more of a public relations exercise. The files have some interesting information, and some conclusions can be drawn from not only what was in the files, but what was not in them. Oh, that's very, very deep there, William. By the way, William has great hair. Fantastic hair. August 29th down in San Antonio, I will be speaking at his conference. Yeah. August 29th, 2020. Barry Taff, former guest. Blue Book was little more than a way to dissuade the public that UFOs weren't real. It was the Air Force's disinformation program to dumb down the American public. The really significant cases were dealt with by another military faction. And Barry leaves us hanging. That is the thought of the day for today and the final one of this week. Thank you so much for everybody playing along this week and getting your answers read on the show. We will do it all again on Monday on Facebook and on Twitter. So check us out at Spaced Out Radio on Twitter, because that's when we do it. And I want to say a big thank you to Captain Shirk for the penis fish story. Got me wound up yesterday. I'm still fired up about that. But some great news tonight. Fantastic news this week. We're going to continue that right through the weekend and through next week as well, because we love bringing the news to you at the back end of every show. You can find all of our news on our website, spacedoutradio.com. That's where we put the SOR Newswire. And a big thank you to Mr. Paul Hynek. How cool is that to have a dad like Dr. J. Allen Hynek? And every time they want to see him, all they got to do is watch Close Encounters of the Third Kind. The man was brilliant. He really was. I was a fan of his. Paul, of course, talking about Project Blue Book and the television series by the same name as well. We appreciate him and everybody from that show who is listening in tonight. We got Mr. Ron Bumblefoot THAL rocking in the background with Little Brother is Watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody this week listening in at home, at work, in your cars, in our chat rooms on Spreaker, Facebook, LGAB, Revolution Radio, and all of you crazies in the SOR Space Travelers Club on our website. You know who you are. You guys are awesome. I know you're out there somewhere. That's Carl's line. Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and SOR Media Ventures Limited. Hey, everyone, thanks for a great week, because together, my friends, guess what? We own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Have a great week, everybody. Don't forget this weekend, Rich Giordano with Spaced Out Saturdays, Everett Themer with Spaced Out Sundays, and then I'll be back on Monday talking UFOs, Shag Harbor. Take care, everyone. Have a great weekend. Good night. Come on. Say it with me here. Play the guitar with me.